Welcome back, everybody. Another weekly Q&A. What up, what up, what up? For those of you guys who are new around here, we're taking your agency questions. We're answering them and hopefully helping you guys to build cool-ass, amazing businesses and give yourselves financial independence, but as well as like time independence. I think that's an underrated part of this business. Everybody says, make money in MRR. And I'm not saying those things aren't cool, but I want to show you guys also how to get some time freedom. So, quick little announcement. This is pretty much your last chance, guys. If you want to come to Los Angeles, like, time is basically out. I do have a small number of tickets left. We're not quite 100% sold out, but we're pretty much there. And so if you want to come, like, it's now or never. So I'm going to just post that link in the old Chatterooski, and we'll get rocking on some good Q&A stuff. So let me get into it. I'm a little tired this morning, so I just got to psych myself up for it. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Frankie Finn proudly brings you our weekly Q&A. All right, the shenanigans. With the greatest of all time, the man they call the man, His Holiness, the Lord of the Dad Guns, 170 pounds of pure steel and sex appeal. It's me, Frankie Finn. By the way, shenanigans aside, for those of you guys who don't know me, I built 3 of my own agencies, wrote those 2 best-selling books, and been doing this 20 years, helped a lot of you guys out there. So let's get into the good shit here. The good shit being your questions, not my shenanigans. My shenanigans got to count for something, right? So Julian's up first, says, shoe stores. Are photographers any good? I'm in contact with 3 photographers, videographers who pitched their stuff for my SEO, PPC, web design marketing agency. Is there a way to partner up so they send me referrals as well? Has anyone done that? Was thinking there is definitely overlap, but I imagine such a partnership would be rather one-sided. Or maybe I'm short-sighted and not creative enough. I can hardly think of any scenarios where businesses take photos, vids first, and then look for something to do with them, or where they shoot short form constantly, but their website sucks. Much appreciated if any of you handsome people got experience with that. So let's talk firstly, the basics of the question. So for those of you guys who are not familiar with my sort of unique terminology, a shoe store is somebody in your space who has an audience of the business owners you would like to work with. So for example, let's say you want to sell SEO to plumbers. Well, the guy who runs the plumbing conference, or the guy who has a plumbing podcast, or the guy who has a coaching program full of plumbers, those are all what I would call shoe stores. There's many more examples, but I'm just giving you a couple to wrap your head around it. So Julian is saying he knows a few photographers, and they're sort of indirectly connected with the people he wants to work with, and he would love for them to send people his way. So I'll kind of give you the 3 things that matter most to get someone like a photographer or whoever really to start referring you and sending you business and doing those kind of things. Okay. So one of those is you have to give them tools. So what most people do is like, hey, do you know anybody? And I'm not saying that's bad, like it's better than doing nothing, but people who generally consistently get referrals, like, hey, here's a gift certificate. It gets you a free website or a free landing page, or it gets you something. It gets you an audit of your ad account, right? Like, you give them a tool so that they can actively share you. That's thing number 1. 2, you incentivize. Hey, if you know anybody, we're paying $1,000. Like, that tends to change somebody's opinion on whether or not they're going to send you somebody. And then the last thing is you have to build a real relationship with them, because trust is a factor. And the way you build a real relationship, a lot of people get confused and go, how do I do that? And think about it, like, how do you build real relationships with your friends, right? Like, if you do this online specifically, like we do, your friends, you comment on their stuff, you share stuff with them, you engage with them. Hey, I was thinking you, bro. How you been? Do you need anything? Can I help you? Do you need to move? That's how you make relationships, right? So it's the same kind of process. But if you want to take somebody who knows all the people that you know and turn them into a referral partner, like those are the three things you're going to need. They're going to need tools to go do it. So give them something that they can hand out that is a value add. They're going to incentivize. Give them money or give them something of equivalent value, and you'd be amazed. Suddenly they start remembering people and they start thinking of you. And for a lot of photographers and stuff, like $1,000 can be life-changing money, right? Like not like permanent life-changing money, but that's a car fixed or a night out that they couldn't afford or a weekend getaway or something. Third piece of the puzzle, like I said, is you got to actually, because otherwise what most people do is you just give them the tools and you never hear from them again. They forget about you. But if you remind them casually that you exist, and this doesn't have to be in a business capacity, hey bro, what have you been up to, is plenty. It'll just change the whole nature of that. So I hope that helps, dude, but that's generally the formula, do those things. Josiah, this is the question I thought probably the most about this entire week, just so you guys know. He said to me, if you needed to make $1,000 in one day with no capital for ad spend, what would you run and what channels would you run it on? So just so you guys know, I wrote a lot about this in book number 2, which is that one, Passive Automated Recurring Income. But most people do not understand the principles of making money online. And so they chase money, but without understanding the principles, it kind of doesn't work. Like, for example, let's say you're trying to get in shape and, maybe let's go back 500 years and people didn't know diet and exercise was important. So if you don't know diet's important and you keep eating Cheetos and you keep trying to get in shape, it's probably not going to work simply because you're eating Cheetos, right? Like that's just kind of how that is. What's up, Paul? So same kind of thing with making money. And I learned this years ago from Robert Kiyosaki. He has a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. He said, money comes from assets. So things you own and control, right? Like the richest guy I know back in my hometown is an old Italian guy. He's no longer with us, but I knew him for a long time. His name was Franco, and Franco owned 7 apartment buildings and a golf course. And the reason he was obscenely wealthy is because he owned 7 apartment buildings and a golf course. So people paid him money every month to rent his apartments, to live in his, or to play golf on his golf course. And not only that, but they also went up in value over time, right? Like the apartment buildings went up, the golf course went up. So he just got richer and richer and richer as time went on. So it took me a lot of years to realize that there are digital equivalents of that. And I'll tell you what I believe to be the most valuable digital asset in existence, which is audience and relationship. So the example I use in the book, and I just want to lay the principle, and then I'll talk about tactically what I would do if I were you. In the book, I talk about there's 2 farmers. I call them Andy and Bob. And Andy does what every other internet marketer tries to do, which is he tries to make money and he tries to go sell his shit. So Andy is selling eggs and he's knocking on doors and saying, do you want to buy some eggs? He's like, they're farm fresh, organic, 2 for 1. And he's standing by the side of the road and he's doing all these sort of hustle things. And if he does do that long enough, hopefully for Andy's sake, motherfucker's going to make some sales. But I want you to compare that to Bob, who believes, as Frankie Finn does, the second farmer, who believes distribution, in other words, audience and relationship, is more valuable than money. And so what Bob does is he knocks on the door and he goes to Whole Foods and says, I can supply you with eggs. And then the next day he goes to Meijer and says, hey, I can supply you with eggs. Then he goes to Trader Joe's and says, I can supply you with eggs. Or if you guys are in Europe, maybe Aldi or Lidl, you would say, I can supply you with eggs. And if you do that long enough, let's say one of them calls him back and Whole Foods says, okay, you can supply us with eggs. Or maybe he gets Walmart, right? Who's going to sell more eggs? The guy knocking on doors, doing it one at a time, or the guy who gets his eggs in Walmart? If he gets his eggs in Walmart, he's going to sell a fucking trillion of them. So we have had more than a few people in our digital deal makers group who made like a lot of money quickly, and they all followed the same general formula. Is they reached out to somebody who had an audience and they said, I got an idea for something really cool that we could sell to your audience, and I'll do all the work. Can we split the money 50-50? That's the gist of it. So we've had people do that on YouTube, where they go to somebody who has 700,000 followers and says, hey, I got an idea. Let's do something cool and we'll split the money. We've had people do that with Facebook groups. I think Ryan, like I actually just did an interview with Ryan where he went into a Facebook group full of like 30,000 business owners, went to the person who runs it, said, I got a cool idea. Can we do something together? And here's the reason that works faster. Okay. So most times, most agency owners who are in the beginning stages don't realize that part of the reason it is such a struggle to get it off the ground is you have no audience and no relationships. In other words, you don't have anybody in the world paying attention to you. And even when they start paying attention to you, they're just starting. They don't know anything about you. You compare that to someone like Hormozy. Hormozy could just like make a tweet and probably make $10 million, right? Because he has a relationship and an audience with like a lot of fucking people at once. So to come back to your original question, Josiah, you want to make $1,000. You want to do it today, and you don't have any ad revenue to do it. It is probably not going to come from like cold outreach and strangers. What you need to do is find somebody who has an audience and say, hey, I got an idea to sell something cool to your audience. Can we split the money 50-50? And what you're essentially doing is getting control of distribution. It'd be like, would you rather make one guaranteed sale right now, or would you rather get a free Super Bowl commercial? If you're smart and you know how to advertise, like you better take that fucking Super Bowl commercial, because like 100 million people are going to see your shit. Why? Because distribution is more valuable than money. So what we're doing is we're hacking that by going to people who already have the audiences, who already have the relationships, who at the click of a button can say, I got something. What they typically do not have is time. So the appeal of an offer like that is you're going to do everything and make them look good, and you'll help them sell something to their people that actually benefits them. So I'll give you a real example. We went to a guy, this is me personally, we went to a guy who had a big old fucking real estate channel. It was like, I don't know, 160,000. So when I say big, it was big, but not like the biggest ever, but it was big, right? Like 160,000 to me is big. Anyway, that's a fucking city of people. And we said, listen, dude, I got an idea to help your people implement the stuff you teach better, faster, easier. Would you be open? And he was like, hell yeah, I'm open. He said, I actually do real estate. So I barely even like manage my YouTube channel. I don't have any time really other than the videos we film. And I said, cool. I went to a software company in the industry that helps. So the stuff he teaches is about like finding deals. There's a software company that makes finding those deals easier, faster, cheaper. And I said to them, I said, hey, we got a real estate channel of 160,000 people. Is there any way we could put together a deal to promote your shit? And they said, yeah, we'll give your people 1,000 extra free credits if they come through your link. And then we just advertised on the channel. Hey, get 1,000 extra free credits with this software that helps you do what the guy in the video is teaching. And the reason I share that, not my YouTube channel, not my distribution, not my product. Not my distribution, not my product. So if you need to make money fast, it is an advanced skill. I'll tell you the hardest part of deal making is you have to have what I call brass balls or brass ovaries, because you got to like go in there and just be like, hey, we're going to do a deal and we're going to make some money together with a stranger who doesn't know you. And you got to be confident that you can put something together. But having said that, if you need to make $1,000, you've got to get control of an asset that's worth $1,000. It sounds like really simple when I say it, but most people try and sell cold strangers. And the problem with that is not that cold strangers doesn't work. It's that cold strangers has runway, and that runway is longer than a day. So if you're trying to make $1,000 today, or I'll tell you the second thing that I would do, and this really works in any market, is I would take a market of physical stuff that you know something about and scour and research and find something that's undervalued. So cars can be undervalued, houses can be undervalued, clothes can be undervalued, jewelry can be undervalued, tickets to sporting events can be undervalued. So you have to find something, so like my earliest experience with people making money online, this was like early, like I'm talking like 20 years ago, but people I knew would go to like yard sales and they would buy clothes and toys and shit like that. And then they would turn around and go list that shit on eBay. And all they had to do was find shit that was like they were given away at the yard sale and then turn around and sell it for more money on eBay and write a creative listing. So there's always stuff like that available to you. It's not probably like the longest term, I would scale it to millions of dollars strategy, but it works if you just need, like in your case, a quick $1,000. So Paul says, does the shoe store method apply to lower ticket SaaS too? Pursue distribution. Don't be like Hustle Bro. And then I see Rajudan has a message deleted. I'm assuming that means you were swearing with your pants off. So a shoe store method, just so you know, like it's not really a method. It's more like a principle. It is go for distribution is more valuable than money. I'll tell you my own personal experience with distribution is more valuable than money. I was like a year into, maybe a little less than a year, but I was into a year into my lawyer agency, and I got invited to speak at a conference. And then that one conference led to other conferences. And what would happen is typically I would go speak on stage at a conference. And, sometimes there'd be anywhere from like a few hundred to as many as a few thousand, in my case, attorneys in the audience. And every time I would walk off stage, there'd be a couple of people in the back of the room that wanted to work with me almost every single time. And it blew my mind because you could sometimes add like $20,000 a month in recurring revenue in one fucking hour. I'm like, that's more money than most people I know growing up make. I did that in one fucking hour. I was like blown away that was even possible. And what I eventually figured out that the secret was, I actually thought it was because I was like this awesome dynamic speaker. I was like, I signed 5 clients. I'm amazing. And then I would talk to some of the other speakers, and they're like, oh, yeah, I signed 5 clients too. And I eventually came to realize it was an audience of people who paid money to be there, with the expressed intent of trying to grow their law firm, in my case. And of course, they're looking for services and things that can give them a competitive edge and things like that. And so when I would speak and you come off, there's money waiting for you at the back of the room, but that's because I got in front of the distribution. It was like you're standing in front of the buying audience. That's why it works, right? So I say that to you guys because it works in every fucking industry. Like anytime, what most people do is they try and pursue sales directly. And I'll give you my experience with distribution. Like my very first experience, we sold chocolate bars door to door. Most of the time was knocking on doors. That's what everybody teaches. Digital door knocking, go cold DM a million fucking plumbers. And once a month we'd go to the grocery store and we'd stand outside and sell chocolate bars, and we'd be sold out of chocolate in 10 minutes because a new buyer walked by every 5-10 seconds. Sometimes like 3 of them walked by at once. And you don't even have to make a pitch. They're hungry and they went to the store and they had money in their hand, right? So I think pursuing distribution or getting control of distribution, if you want to do deal making, is the smartest thing you can do. Which is, by the way, like why it makes me sad that more agency owners don't build audiences, because like nothing will make you more money consistently for longer than having your own audience. Everybody's trying to drum up business now, but in a short-sighted way where they knock on a door, and if you don't sell them something, they move on to the next one and never to hear from that person again. And they never really build momentum. I see this where sometimes I'll have agencies that are doing like outreach and it's going well. And sometimes they even have like sales development reps, SDRs as they're called. And then all of a sudden, like their email deliverability tanks or their offer no longer works. And all of a sudden their business like almost dies overnight and they don't have any audience. They don't have any asset that underlined it. And so they end up broke again. And I don't want you guys to end up broke again personally. Rajudan, hey Frankie, my brother is on this live watching this. He is a graphic designer doing rebrands, has been delivering content for agency, is now concerned about AI. What would be the next steps? He wants to build some assurance that what he's going to focus on next will be safe. Even with the AI coming around, just create content with AI, make an Insta account, become an authority, record content. So I got to tell you guys, I love your hustle, all of you guys. Like that's one of the reasons I do this, that you guys, there's a certain aspect of internet marketing that are just complete dreamers, where they watch videos and, They're not out there actually trying to build anything, do anything. They don't have any skills. They just want to make online money. And, bless them, because like we all start somewhere. But I love you guys because you guys get out there and do that. So, but what I'm going to tell you is, before you get into activity, so you're describing activities, making content, Instagram, become an authority, record content. All of those things are valid, by the way. But what I would get is a clear who and a clear value proposition, because if you do this wrong, you'll be in the I'm broke doing graphic design. So a lot of graphic designers position themselves as a generalist. I make anything for anyone. So I'll see this like if I go on Fiverr. Hey, we make banners, header images, websites, graphics, brochures, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And those guys usually struggle to get paid minimum bottom dollar. But if you use graphic design for a specific who and a specific purpose, you can make a lot more money doing the exact same shit. So I'll give you a real example, okay? Because I think it makes more sense with an example. I know somebody in my world that they only work with New York Times best-selling authors, and they design best-selling book covers. Those covers start at $10,000. So there's a lot of graphic designers out there that are struggling to sell banner images for $10. And yet there are graphic designers who are getting $10,000 to make a best-selling cover. Why? How is that even possible? Well, firstly, the who is somebody who really, really, really needs graphic design. In this case, a New York Times best-selling author. The outcome, a best-selling cover, is extremely important. Anybody who's written a book knows that like the book sells from the fucking cover, right? So like, if the cover don't sell the book, like especially like books that are sold traditionally in bookstores, like ain't nobody gonna buy that shit. So like authors care a great deal about their cover. So I would first do some research with AI and figure out who really, really, really needs graphic design for what specific purpose, and what would they be willing to pay the most amount of money for. And I would specialize in one of those things. And then I would start publishing content and doing all the things you described. But if you skip that step, what will happen is it's a race to the bottom with pricing. You'll be trying to sell graphics. Like when I go to Fiverr or Upwork, like I'm just looking for the cheapest fucking designer. To me, they're a dime a dozen. If it ain't this guy, it's the next guy. And as you mentioned, a lot of times they can be replaced by AI. But if I'm making a New York Times best-selling cover, like I'm not going to just give that to fucking ChatGPT. So I don't know if you can fully AI proof, but just so you guys, an agency, but just so you guys know, even as AI comes in, like a lot of people are terrified, and I don't have a fucking crystal ball. So like take this as one man's opinion. But Dave is in our mastermind. And he said 30 years ago, he got into software development. And he said there was no software when he got into it. So there was all these people going, I need a CRM. And then eventually like Salesforce was made, and HubSpot, and some of these sort of tools. And he said eventually, after like 10 years, he said clients came to him and they stopped asking him to build things and they started asking him to consult. So in the beginning, the conversation was, hey, Dave, I need you to build some software. And then eventually now there's 10, 20 pieces of software. And they would say, Dave, which one do we use? Can you help us set it up? Can you train our team? Can you help us make sense of this? Can you give us a tutorial how to use it? Can you train us? Okay. Same thing's going to happen with AI. So we have a limited window of time where you can sell a website for like 10 grand, 50 grand, 100 grand, whatever. And eventually what's going to happen is clients are going to come to you and say, can you show me which tool to use, how to set it up? Can you help us set it up? Like it'll be more of like a consulting, like tech support. That's how agencies from my vantage point are going to shift. But there'll be a new problem. And it's like, it's not going away is all I'm telling you guys. Like it's just not going away. So I hope that helps. Hi, the brother in the discussion. There you go, Marky. What's up, dude? How can I AI proof my agency? Like I said, Paul, I don't think AI is going to kill agencies. I think it's going to just shift them. So like, for example, I'm seeing this now. We have tools where I can make a website in like 2 minutes, a fucking badass bitching website. And those tools are only going to get better over the years. What business owner is going to pay somebody $25,000 to make a custom website when they can once they realize They can prompt it and do it in 2 minutes. They're not going to pay anybody to do that. But same problem is going to emerge. Hey, there's 27 website builders. They're all different prices. We don't know which one we should pick. How do we use it? Can you teach my staff? Like those things are going to emerge. That's where I see agencies headed. And I think if you want to get ahead of the curve, I'm a big fan of what I call AI micro tools. You create little tools that solve little tiny business problems and you rent them. And then what happens is you create recurring income without recurring fulfillment, because the fulfillment is AI. So that's a discussion for a whole other day, but that's my take on it. Again, take that as one man's opinion. I don't have a fucking crystal ball. I don't know where all this AI shit is headed. That's trends I see. And, if I had to bet, that's what I would bet on. Very true and good point. My first intention would be to hardly focus on the football sports niche, rebrandings, kit design, social media, but only for the sports niche. Yeah, especially if you could do it for like professional teams and shit like that. Like all of a sudden it goes up in value. If you're going to help me, sell tickets to my, minor league baseball team or whatever you want to go for. I guess you said football. I'm assuming you mean like European football or American football, whatever one you mean. It's not the same. My bad. Focus really hard on it, not hardly. Yeah, whatever. It's all good. Typos are allowed. I'm in trouble with VAs and their quality work. How do you really choose and measure their quality? I would first ask you, is this for like a one-off project or is this for like recurring work that you want done? Because those are kind of different discussions. I'll tell you, if it's recurring work and your VAs are constantly disappointing you with quality, it's your fault. And the sooner you realize, the better you'll be at that. And what I mean by that is, imagine you go to a restaurant and you eat there on Monday and it's the best fucking meal of your life. And you call your bro and you're like, bro, you got to come try this place. And then you go there on Wednesday and it's kind of average. And you're like, like that wasn't how I had it on Monday. And so you decide to give it another shot. You come back on Saturday and you try it again. And it's like, it's good, but like it never reaches that first experience. Then you find out that on Monday, the chef owner was there and he's the one who made your meal. And that's why it was the best ever. Then you find out on Wednesday, there was a new guy and that's why the quality slipped. And on Saturday, you found out it's one of the more experienced guys. That's why it's good, but not like as good as the owner made it. Well, you're probably going to stop going to that restaurant if it's like hit and miss every single time you go there. And what most people try and do when they're hiring is they think it's a people problem and it's actually a systems problem. So what I mean by that, the way that you make a restaurant consistent is you document everything, all your recipes. This is how we make the best fucking burger. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. And any agency eventually reaches this point of scale where if you want to replicate quality at scale, you have to have documented recipes. Like they're called SOPs or standard operating procedures in our industry. And like I have no issues with VA quality because they're following my recipe. How do I know they're making a great burger? Because it's my fucking burger recipe. That's why. So for recurring work, that is the key, is like document how you make quality. Step 1, step 2, step 3. There's a good book on that called The E-Myth by Michael Gerber. If you're starting to scale, it's like a must-read book, I feel like. But if you nail that piece, like your biz will be better and the quality will be more consistent because they're following your recipe. This is how I can go to the beach and be with my kids and relax and know my VAs are doing it right because they're following my step-by-step. Working and recurring. So I hope that helps. But the other thing I was going to say, if you're hiring from one-off projects, I always try and ask them like some way to demonstrate they know how to do it. So like, for example, if I'm trying to, I don't know, get a logo made from a graphic designer, I'll say like, can you show me a logo that's, and I'll describe what I'm trying to do. And I'm testing them to see if they really do it. Essentially is kind of like what I'm looking for. Marky, what would be the first thing to do in order to reach these kinds of pro teams? Build a strong product, spend on ads. I'm from Romania. The vibe of Romanian designers is that it's all cheap. Yeah, cool thing about that is you can be in Romania and work with clients who are in a totally other place and don't give a shit about it. I know when I first started, I was in Windsor, Ontario, Canada, which is my hometown, and there was a major economic recession. So there were all these layoffs. It was the highest unemployment anywhere I could find. There was like 30%, and there were all these car companies, and they were laying off people every day, and it was just the place was a mess. And yet, I had clients in Beverly Hills that didn't care. Locally was feeling it, and yet my clients were there. So I actually think the most important step of getting those kind of clients is not making your product awesome or all of those things. It's kind of like being a detective, is you have to assimilate data. And so in essence, you got to figure out who the fuck owns the teams that you're trying to reach. And you got to get a list of those names, and you got to systematically connect with those people. Like if those people are on LinkedIn, I would start getting on LinkedIn and start connecting with, this minor league team owner, that football team owner, this team over here. And all of a sudden, if you do that over like 2 months, your entire connections will be sports team owners. And then when you make a post and say, hey, sports team owners, there's actually people on the other side that are going, hey, that's me he's talking to, right? And I think that's one of the most underappreciated getting starting steps is building a list of the people you're trying to reach. It sounds small, but almost nobody does it. They focus on, I got to get my website perfect. I got to get my product perfect. And at the end of the day, it's a tree fall. So I'll tell you guys, when I begin any marketing thing, so we're doing some land deals, I'm doing some partnership things. We're working on some yacht stuff. All of those, every single time without fail, step one is get a good list of the people I'm trying to sell shit to. Like always, numero uno, do we have a list? If the answer to that question is no, there's not really all that much to do. So like there are other things you can certainly do, but like to me, step one is you have to get out your like magnifying glass, go full detective and go, who owns these fucking teams? Cool thing is none of that is hidden, by the way. That's Googleable. And you can also use ChatGPT deep research. You can say, hey, I'm trying to look for a list of football teams in Italy that have, this, and that. Can you give me a list of the owners and put it into a table? And you wait 20, 30 minutes and deep research will bring you those people. But that's how I start any marketing endeavor, is getting a list of these are the people we're trying to reach. And then I systematically connect with them, put stuff in front of them. It sounds small, but I actually think it's the most important thing is if you don't have good data, if you don't have a good list, like nothing you're going to do is going to work. Because if you're not talking to sports teams, like you have the best product in the world. If you don't know any fucking sports teams owners, like it ain't going to go far. But the thing is, it can be systematically built. It just takes like, month or two, basically. And by the way, even today, I call it building your buyers list. That's still our number one activity day in and day out, building our buyers list in all our businesses. Build a buyers list. Do we got a buyers list? Keep building it. Wow, we got a buyers list. Keep building it, right? Like we never stop building it. Is GHL, Paul says, is GHL SMS marketing like database reactivation threatened by AI? I don't think so. I mean, it's kind of a loaded question because to me, GHL is like Lego. What is Lego? Lego is whatever the fuck you want to build with Lego. That's what Lego is. So GHL is like, it's just a tool, but what you use that tool for is more important. But I would say for like 90% of the things people are using it for, it's not threatened by AI. And I'll tell you why. Because most money still comes from humans. There may be like all this AI shit in the world, but money still comes from humans. Like humans give you the credit card. Last I checked, if I go to ChatGPT and I go, hey, ChatGPT, give me your credit card and give me some money, it won't work. Right? So money still comes from humans, and most people don't understand how humans think, buy, and operate. And so they can't get money from humans. And so they don't know what to automate. And so like most people look like I've actually talked to at least 100 people who told me they went to AI and were like, how do I make money with this shit? And AI just speeds things up. So if you don't know it automates things. It makes it faster, easier, better. So if you don't know the principles of making money, it's not going to like hand you a paycheck. Like ChatGPT doesn't output here's your money. So I don't think any of that thing's going away. I think that understanding the principles first and then using AI to accelerate will make your life better. How would your message to them look? Basically, I have 4 years experience with lots of brands, but no collaboration in the sports industry. How do I get their attention? So I think one of the biggest misnomers of like contacting strangers and messaging them, which is what you're proposing, is thinking that you're supposed to tell them who you are and how you got there and what your experience is. And all they ever care about is them and themselves. So if I was trying to get their attention, I'd just make them a fucking graphic and say like, hey dude, I want to work with your sports team. I was thinking something like this would be really cool. You know, number 72, James Smith. Like, you know, like tickets on sale now, act now. Like, you know, I would, you get their attention by just like it. And what I compare it to, so I see Valerie, what's up, girl? So there's a grocery store chain that's really big in America. It's called Costco. So if you're from Romania, you won't know Costco, but what Costco is, it's a place that sells, it's like a grocery store, like an Aldi or a Lidl, but they only sell stuff in bulk. So you can't buy like small versions of it. You got to buy like a lot of it. And it makes sense for like big families. So if you got like 10 kids running around, you don't want just like one little package of spaghetti and you got to buy it 17 times. You want like the keg of spaghetti, right? Like a giant amount. In Costco, this is how they sell everything. Okay. So if you go on Costco on Saturday, they have all these stands around the store and they have people lined up with toothpicks and they give you free samples and they just let you try shit. So if Costco wants to sell you pizza, so like say they got 8 boxes of pizza in bulk on the shelf, these frozen pizzas, they don't say, we have amazing pizza. We've been making it 10, 15 years. They have a toaster oven, they cook it, they chop it up into little pieces, they put a toothpick in it, and they go, would you like to try a pizza? And you go, that's pretty good. Yeah, that is pretty good. All right, what would it cost me to get 8 boxes? And you went in not planning to buy pizza, and your hungry ass tried one, and you end up buying 8 boxes of pizza. I just gave you the secret to messaging those people. The secret is not going, our pizza's mama's recipe from the old country. It's so good. You got to try it. We got to work together. The secret is make them a little free sample and go, would you like to try this? Hey, that's not bad. Out of curiosity, what would it cost me to get the rest? But that's how you want to message people, is not trying to tell them who you are and your experience and all that. Is just make them something and here you go. And then what happens is, but Costco gives us stuff away for free, but Costco does that strategically. What I'm talking about is strategic giving. They don't just go, hey, come try some free shit. They give you a little teeny tiny piece knowing that a percentage of people are going to buy the whole damn thing. So to me, like I would just make them something cool and send it to them and be like, can I make you more? Can we talk about doing more? Like that's it. Like that's how I would approach it. How do you make database reactivation via email to be the most effective? I also see Dan Doyle. What's up, brother? So this is just my experience. So there's more than one way to activate a database, but remember like where the person is coming from on the other side of the database reactivation. They have purchased from that business. They've done business with them. And now a period of time has elapsed and they haven't heard from that business in quite a while. So you sort of have to acknowledge the fact that like, why have you waited so long to contact me? Like imagine a man and a woman go on a date and then they sleep together and then the guy waits 10 days to text her again. She's probably going to be like, what the hell, dude? We banged a week and a half ago. Like, why are you messaging me now? So I have found that like the simplest messaging to bridge that gap, it works in email, it works in text, it works with ringless voicemail, it works because it works on people, is you say thank you. So our subject lines on our database reactivation are thank you first name. So in your case, it would say, thank you, Paul. Now you're curious, what am I being thanked for? And I say the same thing, essentially. We really appreciate you. No, we haven't contacted you much lately. That's me acknowledging it's been a while, but we really want you back. That's why they're wondering why. Why are you contacting me? We really want you back. That's why. That's why we're trying to do this cool thing. Special offer. So I don't know. That's my formula for database reactivation. It's worked for like 20 years. I'm not planning on changing it. It, it, I'll tell you, if you guys want to make more money as a general rule, people who make very little in our industry ask a lot of technical questions like, should I use SMS? Should I contact these people on LinkedIn or Instagram? And if you focus more on understanding who are these people, what do they actually want, and you try to understand what's important and meaningful to them, what you'll find is the media becomes less important. Like I compare it to, like, my mom's not alive anymore, but if she messaged me, Facebook, Instagram, called me, texted me, it wouldn't make any difference. I would read it just because, it's her, right? And so that's what you want, is like a connection where it don't matter which media you're using, because you're saying something meaningful to them, to the right person at the right time. Would you think having some graphics for each proposal would be worth the time instead of using that time to contact even more people? Yes, I do. I'll tell you why. Okay. I'll tell you why. I talk to people every day about growing this agency thing, and almost everybody who does mass blasting, where they're like, I'm going to contact millions of people, they don't realize it, but they're doing it badly. And so they're trying to make up for the badly with like scale. So I can think of a guy, for example, who said to me, I contact 7,000 dentists per day, and I've booked 3 meetings this month with dentists. And his question to me was, how can I send 50,000 messages per day to dentists? And I'm not saying you can't do that. I'm not the guy who knows how to send 50,000 messages a day to dentists anyway. But I think it's a wrong question to be asking. My question is like, okay, so 7,000 times 30 days. So you're telling me you've sent over 200,000 messages and only 3 people have responded to you? And you think the solution is send more? I don't think so. I'll tell you just my experience. I can remember some campaigns where I've contacted 5 attorneys, 5, not 10, not 100, not 10,000, not 10 million. You know how many I did business with? 3 of them. And one of them said, timing is bad. Hit me up in 3 months because I want to do this. So that's like 3.5, right? And they're highly personalized. I did the homework and stuff like that. I think people try and automate things before they're working. And I think that's a bad recipe. I think automation's great, just so you know. Automate the fuck out of your shit. But automate the fuck out of your shit after it's working. So this guy had a message that's not working. And so what a lot of people do with outreach is effectively like, buy my shit, buy my shit. Want to jump on a call? Buy my shit. And their batting averages are extremely low. Why I do like intensely personalized one-to-one is because my batting averages are way higher. Like, and is the point of this to actually get hired? Or is the point of this to send a bazillion messages? And I think if it's to get hired, like, take your best fucking possible. I would rather you spend 10 minutes and write one killer fucking message to one guy than to just spam 10,000 of them badly. Because what a lot of people are doing, sort of metaphorically with outreach, is they're like a dude at a bar. So where I'm from, the bars close at 2 a.m. So imagine it's like 1:50 and the bar's closing in 10 minutes. Like the guy just runs around going, hey, do you want to bang? You want to go home with me? You want to go home with me? Do you want to get it on? You want some of the Frankie Stallion? And then, what happens mostly is you just get rejected, right? Like nobody lines up and is like, yeah. And eventually, if you do that enough times, you might get some sort of action, but it's probably not going to be the most amazing thing of your life. As where I think about the first time I met Baby Mama, she had posted a poem online. And I read it and I wrote a word for word response. So she wrote this poem called Where's My Wild Man? And I wrote a poem called The Wild Man Answers or Answereth or something like that in like Old English. And I wrote a line by line reply. And I brought her favorite chocolate. I'll tell you, your batting averages are a lot higher when you show up with her favorite chocolate and a little bit of knowing something about that person and what they're trying to do. So I don't know, you can automate it. I'm not saying you can't automate it. I just think most people automate it terribly. And I talk to people every day that are like, I send thousands of messages and nobody responds. And almost always they think I need to send more. So I'm like, I don't know. You need to get one message right before you start. And there's, I recently, by the way, there'll be a video published on this channel in the next, I don't know, week or two about that, because I lay out like how to do outreach systematically, what to say, who to say it to, when to do it, how often, all that kind of shit. What if we want to reactivate the customers every 30 days? If we say we appreciate it and you haven't seen you in a long time, it'd be a little weird. No, believe it or not, you can thank people endlessly. I just don't do the we haven't seen you in a long time part in 30 days. But hey, thank you, customer appreciation. As long as you have a valid reason why you appreciate them. Like smart people do this all the time. If you guys pay attention to Amazon like gives you a million fucking reasons to stop at their store. Hey, we got a flash sale. Hey, it's Mother's Day. Like the holidays, there's endless number of reasons. So you just have to get creative with the reasons. But I don't hit them with they haven't seen you in a long time if that statement's not true. But generally speaking, like people don't get tired of being thanked. The number, by the way, they've done studies on this, just so you guys know, and they asked businesses, why did your customers, clients, patients, customers, whatever, leave? And the businesses, their number one answer is they went somewhere else to get it cheaper. Then they went and asked the customers, clients, patients, whatever, said, why did you leave? 79% of them said, I don't feel like my business is appreciated or wanted. That was the number one answer. Like 4 out of 5 people said, nobody gives a shit if I go anywhere else. So the more you proactively say, thank you, we want you back, we appreciate you, we're doing cool stuff, please come on in again, come on in, come eat at our restaurant again. The more you do that, like it's flattering to the customers, not obnoxious. It actually has the opposite effect that most people think it will. Got it. Now it makes sense. We'll do that at ASAP. How about having some first clients? At what point do you invest in ads, or do you? I invest in ads when I got a working offer, personally. So you can invest in ads in the beginning. Generally speaking, when you're trying to figure out getting clients, you're going to be doing one of two things. You're going to do it with effort, or you're going to do it with money. If you got money, you run ads. If you got time and energy, you're going to effort it. Once I figure out angles or hooks or a process that works, like going from 0 to 1 is the hardest part of all of this, just so you know, because going from 2 to 10, you just do the same shit that got you the 0 to 1. You just do more of it. But going from 0 to 1 is figuring out the working angle offer process. But to me, I like to use ads as an amplifier. So I don't like losing money on ads. I like to spend money on ads when I'm like, I know this process works. I know this offer works. And now I'm just scaling it. Or if I'm in a scenario where I just have too much money and I don't want to waste the time. But generally speaking, it's usually to amplify. I think ads best function as an amplifier. What do you think about direct mail campaigns? I recently met an agency owner using a direct mail method to get most of his customers, and his ROI was pretty impressive. I'm one of the few people that still does direct mail. In every business we have, I do direct mail. Actually, I don't know if she's still here, but Valerie is actually the one who turned me on to this. So there is a tool in real estate called Click to Mail. It's like a website where they'll send mass personalized mailers for you. And they're very, very common in real estate, because if you get information about a homeowner and there's basically only 3 real ways you can contact them. You can text them, call them, or send them a letter in the mail. And so it's very common in real estate to send letters in the mail. And when I discovered it, I was like, this shit would work over here in this agency stuff where nobody uses it. I'm a huge fan of direct mail simply because we can mass personalize. So it means I can write one letter and send it personalized to 1,000 people. Like, for example, Click to Mail allows you to upload a list and then put dear first name. And every time they send that letter, you can go, it'll say, Dear Frankie, Dear Dan, Dear Valerie, each time they send it out. So it looks like you've written that letter personally to them. And you can put placeholders for anything. You can say, I'm interested in and then put placeholder for property address. Or you can say, hey, I was checking out your business name and whatever, and you can personalize it. And so it allows you to send 1,000 letters that look like you hand wrote it to each individual person. And in reality, it's just a template you're mass blasting. And I don't know, I've done trainings and stuff on this, by the way. If you guys look, if you just search Frankie Finn direct mail, like I show people how we do it step by step. As a general rule, like with direct mail, the number I aim for is $250 to get a client. So Costs about $1 a letter. So $250 will get you 250 letters. And I expect that every time we send 250 letters, if I can get one person, that's a winning mailing. And if you got $1,000 a month or more recurring thing, you should happily pay $250. But I'm a huge fan of direct mail. That old school shit that nobody does, like that's my wheelhouse, is the stuff everybody looks past. Hi, dude. How you doing? What's up? So, I'm a little tired, just being real with you, but I'm good. Like life is peachy. Is it possible to have an employee list GHL SaaS agency? Yes, we got lots of people who fit that description. How many businesses are you running besides coaching and consulting people like us? I don't know. I'm a serial entrepreneur. So, I mean, where do you define the difference between project and business? I don't know, but I'd probably call it like 5. I'm a little scatterbrained. I got to do shit. I've heard over the years, just do one thing, only focus on one thing. And I'm not built that way. What I learned to do is rein in my craziness, where if I can use something from one thing in another, where I don't have to reinvent the wheel from one business to the next, it becomes more appealing. So I had a conversation with my friend and mentor in the real estate space. His name's Matt, and he runs 12 businesses. And I was like, dude, how the fuck can you run 12 businesses when it's hard enough to do one? And he said, well, it only kind of looks like 12 businesses. And I said, what do you mean? He said, well, they're all in real estate. So we fix and flip properties. I wholesale. Those are like 2 different businesses. He said, I coach people. He said, I got a dumpster business. I got a property management. We got a window business for like repairing windows and shit like that. He has a data business where he sells real estate data. And he said, firstly, because they're all in real estate, I use the same customer list for all of them. So I didn't have to go find customers. I just had to tell my existing customers, hey, we got this other thing and this other way we can help you. He also said, I have 2 managers and they each manage 6 businesses. So I didn't have to go find new employees. And then it made sense. If you could share assets between the businesses, you can actually do more. So that's kind of how I operate. It's like, it may seem like I'm doing 5 things, but I'm really just doing one thing 5 ways and reusing shit from one thing to another. I'm constantly asking myself the question, how can I get more out of the digital assets that I have? And that usually leads to more money, that question, by the way. I just want to catch up real quick on some of the ones in the doc. Derek says, is there a replay of the live? I lost track of time and wasn't able to attend. He's talking about the training for starting an agency that I did a couple days ago. It should be live on the channel now. So if you guys, bounce off of here later, you should be able to find that. Jason says, out of curiosity, do you have multiple monitors and screens at your desk? I don't. I know some people really love that. I'm just a laptop kind of guy, have been for a long time. I think it's because I traveled lots and I don't know, just get used to working on a laptop. I don't even know what I would do with extra screens. I'd probably just have more chaos. Sohail says, today I got an advice from my spiritual mentor upon my ask. If you chase money, demons will make you begging for pennies. If you want to shift from ordinary living to good living, then look out into your surroundings. You'll see pain and problems. Put your effort, be competence first, and deliver them valuable solution, money, gold, lifestyle, etc. Come to you like it was yours. Yeah, so I'll give you the same advice, but said another way for those of you guys. I read a book by MJ DeMarco years ago. He said, it's called The Millionaire Fast Lane, if you guys feel like reading it. And he said, my biggest takeaway from the book, he said, money follows needs. He said, if you try and ask yourself the question, how do I make money? How can I make money? You'll just go in circles and you won't come up with anything meaningful. You'll just maybe I could do this. Maybe I could do that. Maybe I could do this. Maybe I could do that. Maybe. And you'll try a lot of things that are actually not needed in the marketplace. But if you ask yourself, what do these people need? What are they actually trying to do? Where are they stuck? What problems do they have? You follow needs and you show up and you solve those things, money always follows needs. So what most people do is they get stuck in the how can I make money, and they don't ask what does the dentist need? What does the plumber need? What does the HVAC contractor need? That's a better, more money-making question, just so you know. And it gets you out of you and your own thing, because it's not about you. It's not about you. I get emails from people all the time like, maybe I can make money doing this. Maybe I can make money doing that. Maybe I can make money doing this. What do you think? And I'm like, they're asking the wrong question. They're going, how can I make money? 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 And as MJ DeMarco would say, what do people need? What do people need? Which is why, by the way, I'll post it again for those of you guys who haven't used it. But this is why I built the market research bot, because it does all that homework for you. So you ask yourself, like, what do plumbers need? I'm just going to post that right here now. Oh, also going to post it that we have a small number of tickets left for Los Angeles, and you're out of time. If you want to come, it's now or never. So we're out of time and almost out of tickets, but not quite. And so if you want to come, build your phoneless machine, work on some offers. This is workshop style, so it's not like a bunch of speakers. You take some notes and you go home amped up, and then eventually the motivation wears off. Like, we're going to actually be working on shit, getting some video closing done. Sorry, what I was looking, I got too many tabs open here. Saji says, what would Frankie do? I was listening to yesterday's Q&A. It got me thinking. We're beta testing a workshop for realtors and brokers. We aren't selling anything. We're looking for feedback and expert opinion to see what tweaks are needed before we go public with it. Up to this point, I was thinking of texting, then calling the list of random realtors and brokers. Now I'm thinking, would it be better to send a video text message? What do you think, Frankie? Would you do something else? So this is one of those things where before I focus on like tactics, do I send a video? Do I send it this way? I think it's really important to really figure out two things. One is who's buying it and what do they need? Who's buying it? What do they need? Like, those are every marketing journey. I begin with those two questions. The who's buying it is detective work. You need to get a list of people who buy it. And in industries like, so I've heard people say like real estate is a bad niche. You can't make money with agents. They're all broke. And most agents are broke. That's true, by the way. But not every agent's broke. In fact, there are some mega uber successful agents that have a lot of shit ton of money. I've met many. So what happens is in every industry, there's an 80-20 where 20% of the people spend 80% of the money on marketing. Those are your clients, by the way. People think, oh, I work with dentists, but 80% of dentists are not your clients. The 20% who spend all the money are. If they're not spending on marketing, you're going to have to convince them to do it. So in industries like real estate agents, where it's a low barrier to entry, meaning like anybody can become a real estate agent. You get your weekend fucking course, which is why there's so many of them, right? 70% of real estate agents did 0 deals last year, according to something Eric posted. He said he's an agent, and they shared the stat. Like 70% agents did 0 deals. Those are not your clients, by the way. So in real estate agents, it's more like 95-5. It's like 5% of them spend all the money. You have to hyper focus and build a list. So before I contacted people about anything, you may not be selling it now, but you probably plan to sell it in the future. I would make sure that we have a list and connect with people who buy that. Otherwise, later, if you're not talking to the right people, research on what they want. So it sounds like part of what you're trying to do is research. I'll tell you, my favorite way of doing research is just to ask questions in communities. You know, what's the hardest part about being an agent? Why would you tell someone not to be an agent? What kind of listings do you want more of? What kind of listings do you want less of? Like, those kind of questions are like some of the most simplest, most valid research that you can do. So before you do any of that tactical send videos, like, make sure you're talking to the right people, or nothing you do is going to work. If you talk to a broke ass agent, they can't pay you. Most agents aren't even going to be agents a year from now. How the fuck are they going to pay you when they're making 0? Right? So like, if you talk to the wrong people, it goes nowhere. So you want to that's why I say every time we begin a business project, hustle, whatever, it begins with data. Like, we need a list of these are the people we're trying to get in front of, like, always. And by the way, also building a list of that type. I talked about this to our mastermind members. I showed them how to do this in a couple of calls ago. I showed them how to get AI to actually build a list for you. But it takes the drama out of it. So a lot of new agency owners, or really new business owners in general, like, their marketing is done by drama. So I don't know if it's working. Maybe it's me. Maybe it's my offer. It's all drama. It's all like emotions, feel. I don't know. I don't feel like this. Pros are just working data. Like, I just got a spreadsheet or a CRM, and I'm just like, all right, next name on the list, next. And we're just systematically working it. So if we had 1,000 names, we might send 1,000 letters in the mail. Then we would measure what's the response rate. There's no drama whatsoever. And if that don't work, let's try another angle and see what the response rate is. beginners always have a lot of like drama attached to marketing, and pros always have a list that they're working, and there's way less drama about it. It's just like data. It's just like, what response rate did we get? And then it's like, all right, let's try this, try that. That one kind of worked. Why don't we build on that? So I just wanted to share that, just because, like, I think if you do that, and then like always, if you ask me a question, my answer is going to be video. Why? Because there's more leverage than talking to people. If I can make a digital representation of me, have a conversation with somebody, there's more leverage. Ergo, I can talk to more real estate agents at the same time. You know, in your case, because you're trying to reach agents, video me can have conversations with 50 of them at once. Like, that's more leverage than me actually trying to talk to them one-to-one. Consistency and patience. Today I did very little, but glad I did something direct without proper research and systems in place. Yeah, I would say two biggest things that keep people, especially in the beginning stages, stuck is they haven't done the research to find out what the people want, or they just have false expectations about how fast it is. And I'll give you an example of this. I got a friend, he's blowing up in the music industry. And he said to me, in 1 year from now, I want to own a soccer team in South America. And I said, no fucking way. I said, that'll take you 10 years. And he explained to me all the reasons he could make that money in a year and how he could buy a soccer team. And I said, I have no question or doubts in my mind that you can do that. I believe in you 100%. But I said, you're underestimating how fast the other side of that moves. Buying a soccer team has legal, it has contracts, it has lawyers, it has valuations. I'm like, that part of it ain't moving in a year. I don't care how you may start that process in a year, but you ain't completing that process in a year. I guarantee it. And so a lot of agency owners forget, like, I want money today. Well, that don't mean the plumber is ready to hand money over to you today, or the dentist. There is a process that they have to go through before they give you the credit card. And that process generally happens over time, longer than most agency owners are sold. The average, by the way, average agency sale is 45 days. So that means, like, if you start talking to a new dentist today, sometimes some of them will buy the same day. Some of them might not buy for a year, but on average, it's going to take them 45 days to come around and give you a credit card. And most people don't have a systematic plan. Part of the reason is they don't even have the expectations that it's supposed to take that long. They think, like, I just message him, he's going to jump on a call and go, here it is. Here's the credit card. Let's fucking do it. And that, I'm not saying that never happens, but it generally doesn't happen in the real world. And then I just end up with people who are disappointed. And so, like I said, most people, they're either failing because they don't know what these people want, or they don't have realistic expectations of how long this is supposed to take. And it's because you're part of it. You were ready to move. The minute you decided you wanted to build an online business, you were ready to start collecting money. But that don't mean, like, the plumber, the dentist, the e-commerce store, whoever is ready to give it to you in the same speed. That, just like if you meet a girl, you might be ready to, if you're a horny 20-year-old male, you might be ready to sleep with her, but that don't mean she's ready to jump in bed with you. There's a process she has to go through to feel comfortable and safe and, trust you and like you and those kind of things. I'm thinking to partner with someone who can do acquisition for me, and I'll handle the operations part all after the client is closed, because I'm not really good at acquisition. Should I do this? Generally speaking, Sahil, those are the best partnerships. The best partnerships are when one person is really good at sales and one person is really good at fulfillment. I compare it to, like, a restaurant where, imagine a restaurant where there's a clear front of house. Like, if you ever worked in a restaurant, which I did, like, way back in the day, first ever real job after, like, selling chocolates was Red Lobster. I was a Red Lobster guy. So front of house, okay, you got to shower, you got to wear nice clothes. You got to, actually, in our case, there was a uniform. You got to charm guests, and you got to be, can I help you with anything? Let me tell you about tonight. You got to sell the specials and things like that. That's the front of house. Then there's a clear back of house, and back of house is, you cook food. I worked in the back of house, so you are, like, I'd have a hairnet and sweatpants, and I'd be, like, dirty, but I make sure the food comes out nice, because it ain't about me in the back of the house. It's about, like, the product goes out looking like it's supposed to. And the best partnerships are usually one person does back of house, one person does front of house. So if you can find somebody like that, it's probably going to optimize your skill sets. And you guys will complement each other nicely. So Yeah, I mean, those are the best partnerships. Paul says communication is very important for client retention, but it should be done by emailing them or texting them. See, that's one of those questions, Paul. I'm like, I don't think people fundamentally become different from email or text. So, like, I think both work, both are valid. Like, it's more to me, like, if you're trying to retain somebody, it's more important about what you're saying and doing. So, I just had a client tell me, hey, I'm finishing like 8 million last minute things because I'm going to Greece, like the country, Greece. And I was like, hey, dude, totally get it. Let me help you get some stuff off your plate, kind of thing. Like, it don't matter if I'm emailing or texting that. He don't give a shit. Like, it's cool either way. James says, yo, Frankie, have you or your buddies ever tried hand raisers with cold SMS? If so, what were the results you get? I don't typically, just because, like, just being real with you, James, I don't want the legal side of it. Like, cold texting is kind of a gray area. If you can get into trouble doing that shit. And so I've personally just avoided it. But having said that, I don't think people fundamentally become different people over, like, if the offer would work over text, it'll work over email, it'll work face to face. If the offer won't work, it'll not work over text. So if you're down to do it, especially like if you're somewhere where you're not actually worried about a lawsuit or whatever, just go for it, dude. Sebastian says, hey, Frankie, niche is getting remodelers, kitchen and whole home remodels with SEO and websites. Don't personally do SEO and need to hire. How do I feel confident I can get them a result? I mean, either you got to learn it or you got to find a white label partner who will do it for you. I'll just share with you guys my list of, but I don't know. I mean, I don't think you start with confidence, by the way, about like, oh my God, I can rank any website. I think you acquire confidence as you do it and learn by repetitions. You know, I've seen this with my kids. They just like learned riding a bike, both my older girls. And I don't know, they kept telling me that why they can't do it the last couple of days, and now they can. And now they're like, look, Daddy, I can ride a bike. Yay! And it's beautiful. Like, I'm amazed that they can ride their bikes. But at the same time, it's also like the confidence came after they learned how to ride a bike, not before. So like the falling down on your face. But if it was me, I would probably just white label partner, outsource it to somebody who, you know, knows how to do that shit. Is it true? Sorry, let me just make sure. Paul says, is it true that you don't have onboarding calls? How do you ensure that your clients are onboarded properly? Because clients typically need to be handheld to be onboarded. I mean, the handholding, again, is done through video. Like we're hand-holding them, but we're hand-holding them with a digital representation of me. And like I said, onboarding to me is two things. I don't think most people really understand what onboarding is. And so, like, again, like, what are you automating? Like, don't skip to automation. Do it once manually, twice manually. And then when you have the process working, then automate it. Right? McDonald's didn't automate the first burger. They had to try the recipe. But then when they were like, oh, it works perfectly with 3 pickles, this much ketchup and mustard, then they automated. So I think the first thing you got to do, I call it the grand welcome. And this is because anytime they make a big ticket purchase, not just for marketing services, but in general, their first immediate thought is, am I going to look stupid? It's called buyer's remorse. It has a name, buyer's remorse. Am I going to look stupid? Am I going to have to tell somebody I bought some shit and I got ripped off again? And how the fuck did I fall for another smooth talking salesperson? You see this with like timeshare people and sometimes with insurance and things like that. So the best way to address buyer's remorse is make them feel like they're in good hands and they made a good decision. And we personally do that with a gift. So we send chocolates and brownies with edible arrangements. I send them a handwritten letter in the mail. All of that is, you're in good hands. Welcome. We're excited to have you. What the opposite of that, by the way, is they hire you and then they don't even hear anything from you for like 2 weeks. And now they're wondering, like, are you working on this? Did I pay you? Did anything happen? Versus like our version of that is they hire us. 3 hours later, there's a knock at the door. Somebody says, hey, there's a delivery for you. And the whole office is like, there's cookies and there's brownies. And they're like, what's this for? And then there's a note that says, hey, we're so excited to have you. Welcome to the team. You're in good hands now. And then they're like, wow, that was like cool. That was nice. And then everybody's like, these are good. Right? That's our process, but some kind of grand welcome. And then the second piece of that is get passwords and logins and do it as frictionless as possible. So in our case, like we've done a lot of Facebook ads over the years. So we use a tool called Leadsy where they just have to click a button and go approve, approve, approve. And we got a little video that says, here's how you go, give us access, click approve, approve, approve. And then they do. And they're like, oh, that was easy. Yeah, welcome. We got everything we needed at our end. And then you start communicating after that what's happening. But we are holding their hand. We're just digital me, video me is holding their hands. And actually, I actually had a video go viral, but the guy's name is Ryan. So Ryan was at my very first mastermind in La Paz here, like my first in-person live event. He was at my house. And Ryan has since signed 1,000 clients in the last 12 months. 1,000. Now, mind you, this is like a lower ticket SEO. I think he's charging like $297 or something. But he signed 1,000 of them. Like I held up 10, but 10, 100 times. And every single one of those was phoneless, the sale, phoneless, the onboarding, and phoneless, the updates and stuff that came after. And actually what we figured out at our house is he had grown to the size where now he has a team. So people hire, in their mind, they see Ryan in the video. And now when they hire him, they're going to be interacting with his team. And so it was like, how do we get the team? And it was like, let's make a video together. And we called up his fulfillment guy, Harry. And we're like, hey, Harry, we're going to make a video. And him and Harry were together going, Harry, this is my right-hand man. He's the guy who actually cooks the food here, is my chef. And, not like literally cooks the food. I'm using the back of house metaphor, but this is my right-hand man who actually does all the work. I just want you to know in the next 10 minutes, you're going to get an email from Harry, not from me. And I want to make sure you read that so that when you see what's going on, because this is how we're going to update you and things like that. And so then they get an automated email from Harry through GHL. And they're like, oh, okay. And they answer it because there's a video telling them they're going to get an email from Harry. And this is how we're going to onboard them. So that's how we do it. What does Ryan do exactly? He does SEO. It's generalist SEO. He does it in the UK. So he's got a mix of everybody. I mean, he's got plumbers and doctors and hair salons and any niche you can think of. He's got people in it. But all of them, by the way, 100% of them are signed. And the onboarding was actually the thing we figured out at my house because he was already selling it phoneless. So he had a bitchin' page, people were signing up. And now it was like, okay, now they want to talk to me. I don't want to talk to them. I like that breaks my whole chain. So we made a video, we introduced Harry, we do the handoff, we send the automations, and now they feel like this is a professional organization and they're on it. But all of that happened through video. So the more you can replace you with a digital representation of you, the better it's going to be. And then also it's valuable to them because then they feel like they're instantly handled the minute they buy. It's not like some future thing. How does partnership deals look like? Because I'm a beginner. I don't know, if I want to partner with someone who will handle acquisition part, what deals should I make with him? Well, usually if you're going to partner, the simplest partnership is 50-50. It's like you go sell it, I go fulfill it, we split the money and we meet in the middle. That's the simplest of partnerships. They can be more complex than that, but usually, by the way, if I was looking for a partner who does the kind of things that you do, I would not look in agency groups. I would look in I would join communities related to selling, like salespeople. There's tons of salespeople that are running around going, I need something good to sell. And they're looking, this is a really common thing for salespeople. Is they'll get hired by a company. So I see a lot of friends, they'll sell coaching programs. A coaching program does really well for 6 or 12 months. And then the calls dry up and the offer slows down or whatever, or the coach pivots to something else and they get fired. And they were doing a perfectly good job, but whatever reason, they're out of work. And so I meet these salespeople that are constantly looking for something to sell. And the appeal of your offer, by the way, for the salesperson, it's this magic thing that is the entire appeal of our whole business. Recurring income. And not just recurring, but high ticket recurring. So instead of selling them on, hey, go sell and then have to hunt for your lunch again tomorrow, what if you sold something that it recurred? So every time you sold, our income would build together and you would actually get somewhere. That's the appeal to them. And if you position it that way, you'll have no shortage of partners to choose from. And then I would just like test them out. Like say, hey, I don't know if I'm ready to commit to you full time as a partner, but I'm ready. If we can do some deals together, I'm happy to pay you 50-50. Do you want to try this for a month? That's how I would approach a partner. How do I get work for a plumber that does plumbing for fuel stations? How should be marketing for that? Can you tell me more about the fuel stations? Like that's not something I'm familiar with. Ryan's company's name. I believe he just calls it Ryan Does Marketing. He's got like his little car that he's got branded. Let me just see if I can find it for you real quick. Ryan. Yeah, there we go. There you go. Do I know Kai Stone? I know a few Kais. I'm not sure if it's Kai Stone specifically. There's a guy who does design for me that I just call Kai. I actually don't even know what his last name is, but okay, I'm just going to look up real quick. Fuel stations. Give me some fuel stations. Oh, okay. I see what you mean. Okay, so like literally like gas stations, right? Like they fix the plumbing not for water but for gas lines, and I'm assuming they make more money doing that. So what I would do, well, firstly, I mean, I would get a list of fuel stations. Like that's thing number one. You're probably not going to do it like in the simple way most people do a lot of stuff, Google ads, Facebook ads. It's probably going to be off the table. But I get a list of all the people who own fuel stations, gas stations near me, and who the owner is. And then I probably contact them some way. I actually, in industries like that, where you're messaging them one-to-one with outreach, it actually tends to work well because they're like, it's not like gas stations get hit on like plumbers get hit on all the time. Like their inbox is full of marketers. Gas stations are not. So sometimes in industries like that, you actually get really high response rates with like cold messages because they're unlike other industries where they're jaded and they've been pitched 1,000 times. Like we have some people who do outreach in like industrial niches. Like, imagine somebody's buying some big industrial piece of equipment for a factory. And when they do outreach, sometimes the customers even say, thank you for pitching me. And that was some wild shit for those of you guys who send an outreach in industries where they've been hit on 1,000,000 times. Have I ever done partnerships? Yes. Most of what I do with clients these days are partnerships. There's a lot of nuance to partnerships, but I think the kind of partnership you're looking for is pretty simple. It's like you sell, I fulfill. Like that's the partnership. And you get half the money for selling it and I get half the money for fulfilling it. We meet in the middle, and you probably got to meet once a week to discuss the clients and things like that. But you got to understand what's in it for the partner. The partner is getting high ticket recurring income without high ticket recurring effort. Because most salespeople who sell, like I actually just talked to a guy a couple days ago who he's going to be at our event in LA. His name's Brad, super cool guy. And Brad was saying like he has a full-time career where he's a salesperson and he sells like, I want to say life insurance packages, but I could be wrong about the details. I don't remember exactly what he sells. But anyways, the detail I remember is he gets $1,000 a sale, but the issue is twofold. One, company controls all the data, so he can't make the money appear magically when he wants to. And secondly, there's no recurring. So if he literally gets sick tomorrow and stops selling, his income will go to zero. That's a scary place to be. And so he's like, man, I want to build an agency because like I know how to sell, and like the idea of like something that's recurring that actually compounds over time, like, oh, that's what I want. I want to not make $1,000 sale one time. I want to make $1,000 sale and get that 1,000 every month after I make the sale. And so that's the appeal to your partner, by the way. If they know how to sell, it's like get out of the one-time rat race hamster. It's just like literally for them, it's a better business model. It's a better business model. because otherwise, like in Brad's case, he can sell. As soon as something happens, he's broke again. As where in your case, he can sell for you, get 50 clients. And if 35 of those stick, now he has 35 recurring payments. Like that's way better. Do you think it's possible to get 1,000 SaaS clients without employees? No. But I don't think you need like a super big team. Like it could be done with like 5 people. But, and by the way, most of what those 5 people are going to do, onboarding, setting up tech, and communicating with clients on your behalf using your systems and processes. But like, I don't think you need like a giant team, but I don't think you'll get to anywhere close to 1,000 people doing it all yourself. No. Because there's still like little basic shit you got to do. You still got to like click a button and move this from GHL to, you know, like copy like this sub account, make a new sub account, copy this data over to the other account. It doesn't take long. It might only take 10, 15 minutes, but multiply that 10, 15 minutes by 1,000 people. And that's a lot of work for one person. And then little updates for the clients and things like that. And setting up A2P compliance, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You sell systems to local businesses as of now. What's your niche and offer? I don't have a niche and offer like I used to. So just so you guys know, my first agency, which I did for roughly 10 years, was I did SEO for mostly plastic surgeons, although I was a bad boy. And, you know, if somebody had a credit card and said, can you do blank? And I thought I could, I said yes. So it was like 75% niche down and 25% not niche down. My second agency, we did Facebook ads for personal injury lawyers. And we did that in a lot of different forms and flavors for 7, 8 years, something like that. As of now, I'm doing only partnerships with specific people where I just like them, their business or whatever. So I don't really have a niche the same way I once did. I pick and choose people. And if I like them and their product and their niche and what they're doing, then we partner. If I don't, I don't. But, you know, that's also like 20 years into this. I wouldn't recommend that as a starting place. My goal, though, is to be employee, I'm assuming that meant employee list, and have AI and automations to act as CSMs and onboarding and everything. Yeah, I mean, you can certainly do that, Paul. I'm just saying that if you're really going for 1,000, like you're going to have a couple of employees. It doesn't mean you need a big team, but you're not going to do that with 0 employees, in my experience, unless you got some real AI automation wizardry GHL skills. Maybe it could be done. I haven't met anybody who's done it, but I'm not saying it can't be done. Like I'm a believer in possibility, but I think it's more likely you'll have a small team if you get to that point. For GHL SaaS, I need a CSM, GHL VA, and someone who handles the support part. The extendly simple at Paul. There you go. There's an example of that. I don't know what else you guys got, but that looks like all the questions for now. Just tell you real quick, if you guys want to come build some cool shit in Los Angeles, come hang with me. I actually think this is one of the most important things that we've ever built because, you know, it's your chance to really learn how to sell through video and build that, and also like upgrade your ability to make offers. I'll tell you, I spent 15 years trying to learn how to sell agency services. So I don't really talk about this, but just so you guys know, the first 8 years of running my SEO business, I knew how to get client websites ranked, but I had 2 white label partners that went and sold websites and then would say, hey, we also do SEO, and they would subcontract the work to me to do SEO. So I didn't sell my own clients. So it was a pain point for me for like 8 years because I didn't have any control over my own business. I had to depend on these partners to do their thing. I didn't know how to get clients directly. And so I only really started learning this marketing stuff just to go, how can I get people to pay me for SEO? And then eventually I figured it out. And I was like, actually, the psychology and the marketing was more interesting than the SEO at that point. And I wanted to go deeper on that. But I share that with you guys because one of the biggest hacks that I learned in that is that I learned all the hardcore selling tactics, like the the handling objections and the, how to close people on a call and how to ask this question and sales tie downs. And a lot of that became completely unnecessary once I figured out offers. Once I figured out how to make something irresistible to people and then demonstrate that you really have it and it's real. Like once that became true, like a lot of my sales just got easier. And as a side effect of this, there's money in my inbox all day, every day, like all day, every day. That was not always the case, just so you guys know. So I give you guys something to aspire to, but I literally make money 365 days a year. And I attribute that more than anything else to learning the offer making skill. So if you guys want to get that skill, get your fucking ass to Los Angeles and we're going to work on it. We're going to build it together and we'll have a great fucking time doing it. So I put a link to that, but like basically you're out of time. If you want to come, it's now or never. But I share that with you guys because like it's changed my life, man. Like I was broke the first 2 years I did this. It wasn't until like 4 or 5 years I felt like I was making the money I wanted to be making. So it took me like 5 years to feel like I was actually earning what I wanted to earn. And even still, I had no control over it. It took me like 10 years or so to like be able to like do it on purpose. And then eventually when I had that skill, I wouldn't say it's easy, but man, it's like, I don't know, it's like, I feel like the game changes for you because you're like, all of a sudden you have this skill where you can just make money appear at any given time. Like literally somebody asked me like, what would you do if you're broke and you start over? I'm like, well, I still have the skills. Like I could pull down a doctor's income by Friday. Right. So like, I think that's like the most awesome place to be. So that's me saying, if you want to get those skills and like permanently integrate them into you, this is deeper than just selling agency services. I feel like everything's an offer. I'll give you a small example of this. I got my little guy. I got to put him down for a nap. I say, hey, Franquito, go for a nap. You know what he says? No. Why? Because that's a resistible offer. I say, hey, Franquito, if you go for a nap, Daddy's going to take you to the park after, and maybe we'll get an ice cream. You going to go to the park and an ice cream? And they say, yeah, but only if you go for a nap right now. Okay, Daddy. I'll lay down. He lays down for a nap. Why? Better offer. Better offer, right? Do this thing and you will get, and the thing they get is desirable. Like it's a parenting skill as much as it's a fucking make money skill. It's a relationship skill, like make friends, romantic partner, whatever you're looking for. It's like offer making is a skill that permeates your entire life in terms of getting what you want. Because you'll find if you know how to make offers, everything comes to you downhill. So I'm encouraging you guys to come, but if you can't make it, I think that's just because you're a douche. So don't be a douche. Anyways, I'm just messing with you guys. You're not a douche if you don't come. Do you think I should partner with sales guys from very beginning, or should I handle first acquisition and then get good at it? I can partner so I can better guide him. I think it's up to you. I mean, both of those paths are valid. One of the hardest parts about entrepreneurship is that like there's more than one way to be right. And so there is no like step 1, step 2, step 3, the way there is at a job. Like you show up at a job Monday morning, they start telling you what to do and when you can do it. And there's like a clear laid out path. Entrepreneurship is the opposite. You make decisions. It sounds like just based on everything you've said that it probably makes more sense to go find a sales guy right now. Like if you know you don't want to sell and you only want to fulfill, like handle that problem sooner than later. Personally, but it's up to you to decide what you need best. Paul, do you think it's risky to send marketing text to customers who haven't opted into receiving marketing in America? Because in America, it's legally required for them to check off the opt-in box. Correct. You asked me the other day about customer list. I haven't had any issues with customer list, but I certainly don't text strangers. I don't. Actually, that's not true. There's a way we can legally do it in real estate. I don't know. My mentor showed me how to do that. So we do text people cold in real estate, but I don't do it in anything else. Frankie, are you doing partnership with agencies like us? Not really, to be honest with you. So he'll just be in like real with you. A beginner starting agency is not that appealing to me personally, because usually, like, okay, so we would split the money 50-50 and I would go sell your thing. But the issue is, um, I could just sell it on my own and fulfill it on my own, and like wouldn't have to split the money 50-50 with anyone. And you don't have a working offer yet and systems and stuff. So I would develop it. So from my perspective, it feels like I'm going to do 95% of the work for 50% of the money. That's like how it feels to me. It's different if somebody says, hey, we got this thing and it's working and blah, 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 and we just need some scale. And then I could just like turn on ads and like blow that shit up if I want to. But generally speaking, like the reason I work with new agencies in the capacity I do with like stuff like this and courses and things like that is because like your business at this point, it doesn't mean it won't be ever, but it's just not that appealing for me to partner in it. Cause I'm like, I'm going to do all the work to get it off the ground and get half the money. That don't sound like fun to me. Frankie, my family always says, when will you start? Please start, hurry. Like they don't have patience, and I'm here building systems and SOPs. So when I start, I'll grow much quicker. I think that's one of the hardest things of the beginner stage in general. It was for me, certainly, which is I call them anti-cheerleaders, and they are often friends and family. It's not like they don't believe in you. I've learned they just don't really believe in an online business. And so they don't even really understand the process. And so they'll often ask you questions like, how much money did you make? They'll point to the scoreboard, and many times the answer is zero. I heard that from my first 700 days. How much money did you make? How much money did you make? Zero, 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 still zero, zero, zero. How much money you make? Zero. And you start to feel like a fucking loser. That's for sure. I did. Anyway, I'm not saying you guys did, but I certainly felt like a loser. And one of the hardest things to understand about entrepreneurship in general is it's not linear. So like normies don't understand that. You get a job works like this. Like let's say you make $10 an hour, and I'm just using $10 an hour for easy numbers. But first hour you make $10. 2 hours you make 20. Third hour you make 30, then 40, then 50, then 60. And it's just like it's very linear, right? So if they want to make more money, they work more hours. In our world, it's often like eat shit, 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 eat shit. I figured it out. Like, holy shit, I just got my first 3 clients. Eat shit, eat shit, eat shit. Oh shit, one of those clients dropped off. Sad me. Oh, I figured it out again. Now I'm at 20K. And then everybody goes, oh, you're awesome. You're making 20K. And nobody sees the long period of eating shit. And part of it is like our stuff, you always get paid after you build and figure out the thing and build the, you know, the thing for it. It's hockey stick. It's never like entrepreneurship growth in my life has never been this steady, simple, big, gradual line. It's more like blah, 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 boo, and then it takes off, and then you know sometimes it oscillates, and then it like goes up again, but it ain't a straight line. And so friends and family never understand that. What I've learned though is like they're usually like it's coming from a loving place. Like they're just trying to be helpful and love you and support you. And they just want to do what's best for you. And they don't believe in an online business. Like that's the truth of it. It's not like they don't believe in you personally, generally. Sometimes they do. Sometimes you can have real naysayers. Like somebody told me, like the father-in-law or somebody, brother-in-law. It's like, you're a fucking loser. Get a fucking job. Like, why are you with my fucking sister? You fucking douche. There can be that, and it's hard. I'll tell you one of the happiest moments in my life, one of the most gratifying things. So for me, that person was a father-in-law. My girlfriend's dad would be like, when are you going to get a job? When are you going to get a job? Like, and he'd always talk about my little internet thing, your little internet thing, your little internet thing, your little internet thing. It was about 5 years into it, maybe 4 or 5 years. And I was finally making real money after like 5 years. That's how long it took me. And I remember I started taking my girlfriend on trips. I was like, let's go see the fucking world, because I could suddenly afford to do it, and I could do it whenever. And so we went on some like really cool shit. Like we went all over Europe, we went to South America. We lived in Costa Rica. We went to Peru. We went to Austria and Germany, and we went to Norway. And we just did cool shit. And we went all over America too. I went to like tons of fucking places in America. And I remember at some point he looked at me and he was like, how are you guys like able to afford all this travel? And I remember I just looked at him and I winked and I said, I guess that little internet thing is working out. So there is a saying, it's he who laughs last laughs loudest. And that was he who laughs last laughs loudest. So you don't usually get to tell them I told you so until many, many, many years later, just so you know. But it is very gratifying when you do get to say, see, I told you so. That's my experience with it. Man, my mom is waiting for me to earn so she can spend it on clothes and things. There you go. Buying new car, new home. Is your girlfriend or your mom saying before you start? No, now they now once you have all the external signs, like my case, like I remember my father-in-law came to stay with us and my house was so big I had a whole just father-in-law fucking apartment. It's like, yeah, you guys can just stay in the separate area. You don't have to pay for anything. I got an extra car for you. And then when they came to visit, we had a whole team of maid and servants. So I had like 10 people working for me. Somebody would clean. He was like, how do you do all this shit? At that point, they don't question your ability to do it. It's only in the beginning when you're broke and you got nothing. And when I first met him, by the way, I was like, I'd taken a little hiatus for like a few months and I didn't have anything going. And they were like, you don't have a job. You don't have a job. And then, next time they came to visit, I'm in a fucking palace with a team of servants. And I was like, yeah, I do know how to do a few things, just in case you didn't know that. What is your average churn rate for your high ticket clients? That's a loaded question. It was way higher than it should be in the beginning. And now it's like, wouldn't say it's zero, but it's very, very low, like less than 5%. So meaning if you have 20 clients at the end of the month, only one of them should leave. But in the beginning, like just, most agencies keep clients like 3 to 4 months or even sometimes less. That's like pretty normal in the beginning. There's a lot of things you can do about churn. If I were just to tell you, if churn is an issue for any of you guys and you're losing people and they're canceling, read the book by Joey Coleman, Never Lose a Customer Again, and just do the shit he says in the book. And like, that's how you never lose a customer again. How cold DMs work on Facebook without getting banned. I don't really do mass cold DMs on Facebook. But if I was going to do it, I'll tell you, I think the way most people do Facebook, is the spray and pray style of outreach is retarded. And it's just such a waste of effort. I showed our mastermind folks that without cold and spammy, and one of the things I did is I joined 10 different groups in my industry. So my case, I showed them, was water damage restoration, since I did a 90-day challenge. And I joined a bunch of groups. And there were people asking questions and saying, what do I do about this? And what about that? Blah, blah, blah. And then I started messaging people, but not randomly. I'd say, hey, Dave, I saw your question in the group about blah, blah, blah. And then I might share a meaningful answer. And I'd say, hey, are you doing anything with this other thing? That ain't random. And so you don't get blocked and you don't get banned. And in many ways, by them asking a question in a community, they've invited the conversation on. I think that's a better way of messaging people than what most people do. It's go into communities, see where they're asking questions and doing stuff. When they ask questions, just switch over to DMs and give them a helpful answer, and then be valuable to them where you can be. And then just, hey, ask them, are you interested in this other thing too? I think that's a smarter way of messaging people than just mass blasting. The other thing too is a lot of people aren't active on the platform. So if you go on LinkedIn and you message 87 people, 40 of those people will never even see your message because they don't I'm one of those people. I don't log into LinkedIn. And my VA does. If you guys are interacting with me on LinkedIn, you're actually interacting with my virtual assistant. Now you know, cat's out of the bag. Flip side of that though is if they're in a group and they're posting, of course they're active on the platform because they just posted 10 fucking minutes ago. So you end up engaging with people that are actually there and can see your shit and read it. Paul says, wow, less than 5% is very, very low. Yes. Churning, very, very low. Part of it is when you do never lose a customer again, you're proactively creating a valuable, meaningful client experience. And so instead of it being random hit and miss, by the way, the number one reason clients leave is they feel like you don't give a shit. a lot of new agencies think it's about results. Like the ads didn't get me enough people, or the SEO didn't work fast enough, or whatever. And almost always it's the trappings around your service, not the service itself. So for us, like, we proactively send brownies and cookies. We send a handwritten letter. We check in with them 10 times. We give them updates. Here's what we're doing. Here's why we're doing it. Then they get here's a picture of you and your family, because I appreciate you guys so much. Like, that's why they stay, not because our ads work better than anybody else's ads. Yeah, appreciation department. Exactly. That's exactly what it is you proactively appreciate clients. So if you had 100 clients, only 4 would leave each month. Correct. Did your wife marry you when you were broke or when you got successful? How did she changed over time? Actually, we're not legally married, but she, there was a weird period of time. So I had built a business and I was successful, and I ended an 8-year relationship and got together with her. And I took a step back from everything for a while, and I just was like, who am I and what do I want? So I wasn't like not successful because I had some things going, but I wasn't like crushing it because I don't know. I was going through like kind of like a midlife crisis, just being real with you guys. It's like, I don't know who I am anymore, what I want to do. I thought I was. And but I'll tell you, one of the coolest things, part of the reason I stuck with her that long is because she was actually one of the few people who believed in me on day one. Like on day one, she's like, I know you can do this. And most people didn't, by the way. Most people, like, they believed after it worked and after I showed them, but most people didn't believe. But she always supported me. So like, that was a big part of it. So it's having somebody in your corner say, I believe in you. Like, it meant a lot to me, especially after so many years of people not believing in the shit I did. It was nice to have somebody say, oh yeah, you'll do it. I know you will. Do you think now, because you have children, they are your biggest asset? Because if they got spoiled and started wasting your money, then your business are of no worth. Are you training them? I'm certainly training them. I'll tell you, actually, the biggest thing, children helped me. So before kids, actually, it helped 2 things. One, my uncle said this to me, and it's true. He said it makes you less selfish in your thinking. Before kids, like, my thoughts were me, 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 all day long. All of a sudden, I had kids. I had to include more people in my decisions, and so way more of my thoughts are we. What can we do? How can we have fun? What do you need? And I think way more about other people than I ever did. Like, I've become way less selfish since I had kids, and you almost have to be. That's the first thing. And then the second thing is, it forced me to have leverage. So I remember when I first learned video closing, it wasn't because I'm like, I want to sell a video and blah, blah, blah. So we moved to Germany, and in order to move to Germany, they force you to go to school and learn the language, because there's all these people who move to the country and go on welfare, and they're like, we don't want any more people on welfare, because people on welfare say, well, I can't get a job because I don't speak German. So they're like, they make everybody learn German when you move there now. So I'm in school, and I'm like, I don't know, 6-7 hours a day in German school. And then I would go home and run my business, and I would book like 8, 9, 10 hours of sales calls, because we were running a funnel, and I was still doing sales calls, and I was crushing it with calls. So sometimes I would be in school for like 7 hours, and I would come home to 10 straight fucking calls on my calendar. And at the end of that, I was burnt out. And I remember there was a moment, my little Heidi came over, and she was just learning to kind of not walk, but in between she could climb on the couch, and she would come over and she would like hop up and down. And I remember she like, and she was, making baby talk. And I was like, Heidi, shh. Daddy's on a sales call. Quiet. And then I remember at the end of the day, I was like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, what's more important, this sales call or your daughter? You're going to miss your daughter growing up. And it was really painful and hard. And I remember I got hit by a mentor, Travis Sago. He had an ad that said, like, you can close sales in Google Docs. And everybody asked the same question, by the way. I asked the same question. Can my thing be sold like this? And he said, I got a little intro workshop. Why don't you try it and see if you can do it? And I remember the first time I closed somebody, I took the principles and I'm like twisted them to video. I remember the first time somebody bought it with video, and I was blown away that shit could even be done. Like, I tried it because I was open to trying shit, but I actually didn't think it was going to work. Like, I didn't really believe it was going to work. And then they went, okay. And then, now I've realized 5-6 years later of being the video closing guy that clients actually prefer to be sold that way. They hate sales calls just as much as you hate doing the calls. They don't want to talk to you. They really just want to know the price, and they wish you would just be transparent about how much it is and what they get for it. And they would prefer to find that information out without having to face you face to face. Anyway, all of that came out of kids, because I'm like, in order for me to see my kids grow up, I had to develop leverage. I had to be able to separate myself from it. And what I came to realize is that I've created a business where the hardest working person in my business is Video Me. Video Me is a beast. That dude works 24/7, 365, never takes a day off, and just like round the clock is a big pimp and mofo. Real Me just, is a lazy motherfucker. I woke up today, I texted a few people, and I debated, like, I got a new Mario game. It's not new, but it's new to me. I got Mario Wonder for my Nintendo Switch. I'm like, should I just sit on my ass and play Mario Wonder? That was like the real conversation. Should I exercise, or should I just sit on my ass and play Mario Wonder? I'm like, I don't know. Right? I was like in between. And I'm still not decided what I'm going to do for this afternoon. But I know that whole time I'm sitting on my ass, Video Me is like making pitches and onboarding people and doing shit. So like, when you do it this way, you have a massive amount of leverage that most people don't. And I say all of that because all of that was inspired by my kids, because I just wanted to be with them, and I couldn't be on sales calls and be with them. It wasn't possible to do those two things and be good at both of them. But that's the thing I'm most known for. And it didn't come out of like, I want to be the video closing guy. It was just like, Heidi, quiet, shh, daddy's on a sales call. Shh, quiet, shh, shh, shh. Of course, little girl who's, 8 months old doesn't understand that anyway. Does your sticky client course summarize the Never Lose a Customer book? It doesn't just summarize it. It's our own like tools and templates for how we implemented that. So Joey Coleman teaches you the whole formula. And then I had to get specific about like, what do I say in my welcome email based on the things Joey teaches? What's our welcome gift based on what he teaches? What's our 3-month milestone thing based on what he teaches? So we just templatized all that. So it's less like a course and more like a swipe file. It's more like, do this, send this. And a lot of people have this backwards. So like, we send a gift, it cost me $50 on day one. And people go, but now you have $50 less profit. I'm like, I get way more profit from doing that. Why? Because my clients don't leave after 3 months. My oldest client, by the way, has been paying me since 2009. So they're not all like that. But like, think about how much easier life is if you got somebody paying you for 17 straight years. 17 years, and not a job either. Right. So, those are the principles. And we went through our own issues with churn and stuff and had to figure that out, just so you guys know. But Joey Coleman's book is straight up gangster. It lays out how to do it all. And then, we had to apply those principles to agencies and develop tools and systems and swipe files. So like, that's what you're getting. Frankie, before I jump into my question, I just wanted to say I've really enjoyed your YouTube content. I only came across it a few weeks ago, but I've gotten a lot of value from you. I appreciate you guys saying that. Just so you guys know, part of my own selfish motivation for doing this is my first 10 years, I only know one other guy doing this, Dan. So we had a little mastermind of 2. Sorry, I'm scratching my ass if you guys wonder what's going on. You want to bite my fingernails? No. Sorry, I had a butt itch. It's real. This is real life. But anyways, it was really, really hard because I didn't have anybody to talk to about this. Like friends and family, they would ask me dumb questions. Like, even my girlfriend would be like, "Are you still working for Ken?" I'm like, I don't work for anyone. It's a client. I have a client relationship with that person. And I just felt really alone, and not a lot of people understood me. So for me, this is like therapy for the next 10 years of my life, is to give all the shit away and be allowed to talk about this with other people who get it too. So I appreciate you guys right back. You talked a lot about creating freedom through systems and leverage. Looking back, what was the single operational change that had the greatest impact on reducing your day-to-day involvement? In one word, systems. And if I was going to read one book on it, it would be The E-Myth by Michael Gerber. And he talks about I kind of used the analogy earlier that if a restaurant imagine a restaurant owner who knows how to make the best, most killer steak. if he wants to remove himself and still make great steaks, he has to document that recipe. And then he has to hire people who can follow the fucking recipe. And if he can do that, if he can successfully teach it in a recipe, then he can almost hire any cook he wants to do a good job. Any cook who can follow the instructions will make his steak almost as good as him using that recipe. And originally I thought, like most people think when they try and scale and it's not working, and like basically like quality slips and you have all these like, you know, balls in the air that are getting dropped, almost everybody thinks it's a people problem, like self included. I did too. And so they go, I need better people. And how can I have better people? And, you know, maybe I would say things like people from the third world, they don't care. I would say shit like that. If you want it done right, do it yourself. And the minute I documented everything we do and started handing people checklists and tools and systems, they started following my recipes. And then the steaks got made exactly how I would make them. And then, so you reach a stage, it's stage 3 of growing an agency. But if you want to scale, like everything we do is in a project management, and everything we do has a person. It has like a task. So it'll say like, you know, send the client this email, and it has a person that's responsible for sending it. It has a step-by-step process for how to do it, and has all the templates stored in there. And everything we do is just working through checklists in our project management, and we assign them to people. And then I can manage the entire business looking at that. And then another thing that I do at that stage as well is I make every employee have to make a report about it. So they'll like for example, like I have a video guy, and he sends me a report every week of how many videos we made, how many followers, how many we got in progress. Are there any issues? Is there anything he needs from me? I can look at it in 10 seconds and know what needs to be done in the video. That's it. And so eventually you reach a point where you can manage the business looking at a spreadsheet in like 5 seconds, get up to speed. And then you're like, and then you know what systems to tweak on and stuff like that. That's it. Like that's what stage 3 of managing an agency done right. It's like you just open it up, you look at your project management, you see all your checklists, you go, why is that one not getting done? And then, you know, in 10 minutes, you know what needs to be done. That's it. Continued. Sorry, I guess I missed the part 2 of that. In the business while maintaining or improving client results. And the way you improve client results, by the way, is by tweaking recipes. Everybody thinks like you need to find better and better and better people. And I'm not saying you shouldn't have great people. But even finding great people is a system, right? The way you bring in great people is like, what is your hiring system? If you don't have great people, I'm going to say, what's your hiring system? So your checklist for doing that is everything. So that's basically it. When you start scaling an agency, it's just a bunch of boring fucking checklists. And now I have my own AI tools that can output a recipe at the speed of light. So I just describe it. I say, hey, I'm trying to cook a steak. It'll go, hey, I got 10 questions for you about that steak. You know, do you use the grill or do you use the cast iron? Is it a ribeye or is it a this? Do you baste it with butter? Yes or no? And you just ask it all these questions. It asks you all these questions, and then I answer them, and they go, boop, here's your process. And I do that over voice, and I can create those checklists in like 2 minutes, or less than 2 minutes. And then I give them my team, and they're able to like follow my step-by-steps. And everything we do is based on that. And that's how I'm like, then I can walk away, and I know like the steaks are getting made exactly how I would make them. I can be at the beach, and I'm like, it's handled. Or in some cases, we use automation to execute those recipes. But I'm probably not that sophisticated with all the shit you can do with AI, just simply because I'm not that actually good at the tech side of it. Have you increased prices for the 2009 client at any point? Many times. Actually, they've always been cool to me, and a lot of times they increase prices without me having to force them. It's part of the reason why we've been clients, you know, marketing guy relationships for so long, is because they're just cool. How old are you now, and how much do you travel? I am 43. Yeah, 82. So my birthday's at the end of the year. So 43 going on 44. How much do you travel? Not that much. So it depends on how you define travel. So I have kids, right? And so like I like to travel with my kids, and they don't make it very far, just so you know. So like an hour in a car, and they're like, Daddy, when are we there? It's been like an hour. Like, so I think the farthest place I go to in my day-to-day is there's a water park that's like 2.5 hours away. And we've been there many, many times. So in terms of like small scale travel, like almost every day, like we go somewhere cool almost every day, like, places within an hour, beautiful beaches and things like that. I do cool shit every day of my life. Like other than like days where I'm just tired and I just feel like sitting at home. But, for the most part, like I do cool shit every day of my life. As far as like large scale travel, I'm way more selective about that. And part of the reason is not that I've seen the whole world, but I've lived in like 35 countries. So I'm like, I don't know. Mostly that itch feels pretty scratched for me for now. I'll take my kids when I'm older to see more cool places, but while they're young, it's just not that much fun to bring them. So I don't know. I mean, I just do it how I like it. But I do have like a little bit of travel. So like I got my event in Los Angeles in a week and a half. So I'll be in LA. I have an event in Miami that I'm going to, another one in Puerto Rico that I'm speaking at. So I'll be in Puerto Rico. And then I'm visiting a friend in between those two events in New Orleans. Not quite New Orleans. He lives just outside of it. But that's all the travel I have planned at this moment is those 4 things. And then mind you, like there's a lot of like, hey, you want to go somewhere cool, kids? All right, where are we going, daddy? There's that kind of travel every day. E-Myth, great book. Yeah. It was super eye-opening for me. It made me realize that you can replicate, like it was a mind shift change for me for sure. Sebastian says, thanks for all the content, Frankie. My friend TJ recommended I check you out, and it's really helped after trying for 7 to 8 months to start an agent. Appreciate that, dude. The getting the agency off the ground is the hardest phase of them all. And it's also the hardest to believe in because, like when you're making 50K a month and it's hard for different reasons, you at least have reasons to believe you can figure it out because you got this far already. When you're at like 0 and you're trying to get to like 10K, it's a lot harder to believe in it. And it's a lot harder to get it off the ground because you don't even always know what you're doing wrong. So like part of what I hope to make easier for people is to demystify it because there's like 5, 6 things people habitually do wrong. And if you get those out of your machine, you can replace it with like, because I'll tell you, like, man, it was probably like 4 or 5 years in, but when I started making real money and I was like, I realized for real at some point, I was like, I could get back here and I don't need a job ever again. I was like, I don't have to go work for the man. It wasn't like an instantaneous thing, but it just dawned on me that like this is actually working and you could make this work again. And you don't need to ever go back. And I was just like, oh, so much freedom. It was like, holy shit. And I'm sure some of you guys can relate. I was chronically unemployable anyway. I was a good employee. I wasn't like a bad one, but eventually I would look at them and their systems and the way they did things. And I would think they're stupid. And like, hey, there's 87 ways you could, do this better, faster, easier, cheaper, whatever. And I would always just like these companies are so dumb and they don't want to fix anything. And I would get frustrated and want to leave. And when it's your own company, you can just change and fix those things. You don't have to like there's no meetings, there's no bureaucracy, there's no politics. Yeah. Your hand raiser idea is gold. Then the video and the follow-ups on the ideas you had around getting the outcome. What a great way to follow up with value. I'm modeling my outreach on this idea. Love it. There's probably more than one way to be successful at that, but that's like what's worked for us for like 20 years is what a lot of people do is like when they follow up, they're basically like begging, like, hey, did you see my proposal yet? And I found the going deeper on the plan shows them it's more real, shows them like you're thinking of them, and it like you're giving ideas, which is giving value. Even though obviously you're going to get paid to implement those ideas, nonetheless, the exchange is actually valuable to them. Revenue Mark, should a 17-year-old stop grinding 12 hours a day? I have no other focus right now, but want to know when to transition to living life. I mean, I'm not telling you what to do, but I actually think that you should design living life in it from the very fucking beginning. Because otherwise, and I understand it, like, dude, I was the same way when I was like 17. I was like, I just really wanted to fucking make it. And I just knew that I always knew like I wanted to be in business for myself. I didn't always know how to do that. And I didn't always have the courage to do it, but I knew that I wanted to. It was very clear to me. I wanted to be rich and not work for someone else. But what ends up happening is if you set the intention to work 12 hours a day, you're often not working on needle moving shit. So I've learned that productivity and activity are not the same thing. And I strive for productivity. So productivity, and I think you should strive for productivity too. And being real with you, I think you can do 90% of what matters in growing an agency in less than like 3-4 hours a day. If you really obsess about what moves the needle. Now, a lot of people get stuck in your stage where needle moving activity feels like updating my website and getting my service right. In the beginning stages, the only thing that moves sales forward is having conversations with ideal prospects. So like building a list of them, getting in front of them, putting hand raisers, talking to them, messaging them, running content to them, putting ads in front of them. Like that's it. That's the only needle moving shit. And if you obsess about just do the needle moving shit. So like for me, I have an audience and I have an email list, and every time I send an email, I make money. So usually it takes me 10 minutes to send an email. But every time I send an email, like that's productivity on steroids. So it's like the more I do that action, the more money I make. And it's not about being busy at a computer for 12 hours a day. Because I've met people, like one of the downsides of being like super ambitious like you are is that eventually the business will take off and you'll need staff and you'll need team and to like manage the holy shit. Now all of a sudden we got 30 clients, and you'll try and outwork every problem because you've trained yourself to work 17 hours a day, and you actually get more done through other people. And so if you think about like just grinding all day long, what'll happen is you'll grind. And I was like I was a grinder for like the first like 6 years of this agency, and I got agency game. I got really burnt out from it too. At some point I was just like working 80 hours a week, and like I was checking my email like 50 times a day, and I was like, what is this even all for? I make money and I don't even have time to spend it. Like why? So for me, I think like the more you build cool life as your reason why on minute one, hour one, day one, I think the more that will scale. And so I'm not telling you this is the only, and obviously I'm blessed to like be in a position to do this, but I optimize my business around like what's fun for me to do. Like if it's fun for me, because I learned that like years ago, things that are fun, you're more likely to keep at. So like, for example, like if you're trying to get in shape and going to the gym is a fucking grind and you got to like be disciplined and all that shit, you're probably not going to stick with it, or you'll stop and start lots. But if you like for example, if you really like playing tennis, and as a side effect of playing tennis, you get in shape, then like you should optimize your exercise around playing tennis, because you'll get in shape just because you love fucking playing tennis, right? So to me, like the more you can optimize around like doing it in a way where it's enjoyable now, it'll scale, and your business will stay fun the entire time. If you try and go, I'm going to do anything necessary to make money, you'll build for yourself a miserable prison as a general rule. And I wouldn't suggest doing that. You can, but I wouldn't suggest it. Did you retire or dad, or is he still working? Both my parents are dead, so that's they're as retired as it gets, right? Celia, what's up, girl? It's late where you're at. What are you doing partying at? Like it must be like 9 o'clock there. Maybe not that late. Is it 9 o'clock? It's late anyway. No, but I didn't retire my parents, but I just so you guys know, like one of my goals with this now is to retire my children. Yeah. I'm already like mobilizing massively towards that. I want my kids to have the option to work if they want, to do what they want to do, not what they have to do. How would you most effectively test your low ticket offer title? Going to bed soon. Haha, yes. 9 p.m. There you go. Sorry, I don't do the 24-hour clock where we're from, but I know what you mean. How would you test your low ticket offer? Like, well, I was mentioning this earlier. You obviously weren't around, but I start every marketing journey with building a list of potential like people who are the right kind of person. So like for me, that means buyers. So like literally every business we build, like step one is let's get a list. So like we're working on selling yachts. Step one is I got a list of everybody who's buying and selling yachts, everybody who works on yachts, what I would call shoe stores, like people who are connected to the people. And we just like all of it is in what I call my gangster CRM. CRM stands for client relationship management system or customer relationship management. My gangster CRM, because I don't like pay for a CRM, I just like put it in Google Sheets. But before I even like try and sell anything, I get a list of these are all the people buying it. We're working on some land deals. I got spreadsheets full of like, these are the land deals. These are the people who are trying to buy it. These are the home builders. And we work the list. So to me, step one of any offer is always that. It's always get a list of people who would be most likely to buy it. And then as far as testing it, then I think about what's the most efficient way to put a hand raiser, which is a summary of the offer. So there could be different ways of getting it in front of them. Like sometimes it's just you one-to-one message them, hey, would you be interested in this? Sometimes it's like I friend those people on social media and put content in front of them. Sometimes I load up ads, like, so we've been known to go on Facebook and put a custom audience of people and load them up. Sometimes I'll like friend all those people on LinkedIn and say, hey, would you be interested? There's no like one set way. I always do it. It depends on who we're trying to reach. But every single time I'm trying to test an offer, it always starts with who's buying it. I think too many people skip that step and just like start blasting. But, I mentioned this earlier, in some niches, it's really extreme. So like real estate is one of those where 95% of agents will never buy your shit because they're broke, they're beginners. A lot of them won't even be agents in a few years. The ones that make for your clients usually have teams under them who are already paying for marketing. They might have billboards, radio, social media, Google ads, SEO, all those kind of things. And I would way rather get a list of those people. So like if I was trying to market to real estate agents, getting that list would be extra important, because if you just start blasting, you can send 20 offers and 19 of them will never buy it, even if you say and do all the right things, right? Like the analogy I use is like, say we come together and we decide together, I want to sell barbecue pork ribs. So we're going to start a rib business. We're like, hey, I got a really good rib recipe. And then I buy you a plane ticket and I say, I'm sending you to the Jewish Vegetarian Conference in New York City. Go sell some ribs. If I send you to the Jewish Vegetarian Conference, you know how many sales your fine ass is going to make? Right? I don't care how good your offer is. I don't care how good your message is. I don't care how charming you are. I don't care how beautiful your booth is. I don't care how hot you look that day. They're just not buyers of pork. Like they aren't ever going to be buyers of pork. And so you're just going to paddle up Schitt's Creek. Same exact offer. I send you to the Alabama football game and I go sell some ribs. You'll crush that shit. Crush it. So to me, getting a list of who are all the people at the Alabama football game who buy a lot of ribs is like how I begin every single time. Because without that detail, and by the way, even at scale, this is the thing I spend the most amount of time working on, is like building our buyers list. Like we have a buyers list and I keep building it because it's the number one asset in your business. It's like, if you have a list of people who buy shit and you can click send and they make sales, like what's better than that? I realized this when we got into our real estate stuff. So we did some wholesaling and stuff. And what we found is a lot of wholesalers will go and get a property under contract and then go try and find a buyer. And it's really, really hard to sell a property if you don't have a buyer lined up. Flip side of that is if we get a guy who says, hey, I'm willing to buy anything in this suburb that's in this price range, and then we go market for that kind of deal, and then we get that deal, I already know exactly where I'm going to sell it. And so the deal moves way easier if we start with the buyer first. So I think selling agency services is the same. Start with the people who are buying it. And then I test the basic assumption with a hand raiser in one form or another. How religious am I, and how much you think religion played a role in your success? I'm not religious, but I'm also, I'm in a unique spot. I mean, I wrote about it in my book, like, since you asked. I've had over 500 sort of like spiritual near-death mystical experiences. They first started happening to me in 2010 when I first drank ayahuasca, which is known as the world's most powerful psychedelic compound, but also has been used in native cultures as a healing thing. And so I think when you have the real experience, Religion is a useful tool for people who need stuff to believe in. So I'm never knocking anyone's religion. I'm just sharing my personal experience. But once you experience the real thing, I don't think you don't need an intermediary anymore, and you don't need to believe in it. So, and also I don't feel the need to convince anybody of anything. I'm like, so, but it was huge. I mean, my first ayahuasca experience, I healed a lifelong anxiety. I used to have so we grew up really poor. And my mom was stressed about money like all the fucking time, forever. Like she would look at the future and she would never think like cool shit's going to happen. We're going to make more money. We're going to get rich. This amazing thing's about to happen. She would look at the future, stressed out, worried, not enough money to make ends meet. And that was the point she operated. And when I started building my own business for the first few years, I was anxious. Like sometimes I would even have full on panic attacks. And I still remember I did a podcast about it like not too long ago, but my first ayahuasca experience, I literally healed a lifelong anxiety. And so that was huge for me to no longer have to be anxious about money. In fact, the opposite is true right now. Like this is probably the most chilled out I've ever been about like finances in my entire life. I'm just not worried about it at all. And so, so I'm not saying like, you should believe what I believe. I'm just telling you kind of like what I've been through. Hey, sorry, I'm just seeing what I missed. Sorry, I'm here. You can put them in your GHL. Okay, so the same way as everything else. Yeah, I mean, I literally do everything the same way. And the reason I do everything the same way, Celia, is it's human psychology. It's like this is how people actually make decisions. So I'm like, the reason I'm doing it that way is because that's how humans make decisions. Blind man can't see a shadow. There you go. Would you consider following Jesus? I mean, that's a loaded question, but I mean, I've met the Christ many times in my visions. So I don't need to believe in a Jesus. Like, it's like, your audiobooks goes into great detail about that. Yeah, it certainly does. Ayahuasca is interesting to me, but I'm afraid of having a bad trip and freaking out. It's intense. It's like easily the most intense thing I've ever done. I always say like the 20 most interesting life experiences I've had, 17 of those are ayahuasca and 3 are the birth of my kids. That's it. Like those, all 20 are like in the same general vicinity. And they're certainly there. I don't know if I've ever really had a bad trip, but they can be difficult. They can be immensely difficult at times when you really face the truth of yourself, like that could be hard shit. Yeah, my transformation in life now. And a lot of it, like ayahuasca didn't make me successful in business, but it removed many of the blockages that kept me from really enjoying it. Like the anxiety was a big one for me. Like just feeling anxious all the time and stressed out and worried about money made it real hard to go make money because I'm like, oh, I was worried. And I thought too, when you hit a number, like, oh, when I make 10K a month, I'm not going to be worried about money. Or when I make 50K a month, I won't be worried about money. Or when I get 100K a month, I won't be worried about money. And I just worried in a different way. I started worrying about payroll and how am I going to pay all these people and things like that. So when I healed that anxiety, it was a really, really big thing for me because I was like, okay, I can chill out. And like when I chilled out, I started enjoying the journey more. And when I started enjoying the journey more, the transformation happened faster. Like if you really enjoy exercising, you'll get in shape way more than somebody who tries to do it through brute force and discipline. So to me, the more I would like do that, makes it easier to be successul at it because you're having a good time doing it. There's like, just so you guys know, like I have a good time doing these calls with you guys. So it's like, I don't wake up and go, oh my God, I got to do this fucking 2-hour call work. That's not true. Every now and then I'm tired and I show up for you guys anyway, but more often than not, I look forward to this shit. So it's like, yay. So I say that. You guys are asking some like really out there shit today. I didn't think we were going to get into my sort of like spiritual experiences and things like that. But I'm past the point, just so you guys know about that. Like, and again, this is not me trying to persuade any of you guys. Believe whatever the fuck you want to believe. I'm not here to convince anybody of anything. I'm just saying for me personally, once I started having direct experience of what I would call the infinite, I no longer needed to believe in it. And I spent the next 15 years learning how to use it and interact with it. So that's my personal kind of thing. But, I think a lot of beliefs are actually useful to people. So I try not to shit on anyone's beliefs. I know a lot of people are like, need everyone to believe what they do. I actually came to realize, by the way, that no two people believe in the exact same thing anyway, even if they think they're talking about the same thing. I had this conversation with friend of a friend. So his baby mama's friend, and he's like the devout sort of atheist, scientist, materialist type. And I expressed my opinion that we like created reality. And he said, bullshit, like reality is real and objective and out there. And I said, is it? And he said, yeah. And he said, pointed to a salt shaker in the middle of the table. He said, we both agree salt is there. And I said, yes. And he said, how can you say you're creating your reality when the salt is right there? And I said, are you experiencing salt, or are you experiencing yourself experiencing salt? And am I experiencing myself experiencing salt? He said, well, it's obviously the latter. And I said, first of all, we're literally not looking at it at the same angle. So like you see it on this side, I see it on that side. But which one of those is the real perception? I said, we think we taste salt exactly the same, but I bet you if we could go into each other's experiences, it would taste a little bit different to each of us. Now say the word salt. And then he said it a little differently. Say, we even say the word differently. I was like, well, which one of those is the real salt? And at the end of the day, it's just my experience and your experience. And so like we're creating the experience, not necessarily the salt. And then he was like, oh, and I could just see his hamster wheel turning. And like, for me, that's just been real for a long time. I was offered ayahuasca in a Vietnamese forest while traveling, but chickened out. There could have been good reasons for that. I've learned that not all ayahuasca and not all people who give it are benevolent. So might have dodged a bullet there. I've seen some really fucked up shit. Like I said, all the craziest shit has happened to me in ayahuasca. I've literally, like, I can remember one ceremony where there was this dude. He was an American guy, but he lived in Patagonia, which is like the southern tip of South America. And he ran like a fishing tours business. And he didn't say anything about this, but his family had had 9 generations of rape. So his mom was raped. And like, when I say raped, like that's how they conceived, not just like, so his mom was raped, his grandma was raped, great grandma, and like on it goes as far back as they can tell. We're in the middle of ayahuasca in a ceremony, and this dude starts purging a demonic entity that is from this rape situation, like right in the middle of it. And there were like 30 people in the ceremony with me. And it takes a lot to take anyone out of their own ayahuasca experience. And he took all of us out of ours. And I remember I could just feel this like heavy, like demonic thing. I was like, whoa, what the fuck is that? Right. At some point, that whole thing was going on. And I could hear Hamilton, my master shaman, he was like calling like energies to remove that thing. And then at some point I heard a pop. It went, and then the whole room like lightened and it was gone. And I remember somebody said out loud, they were like freaking out. They're like, Hamilton, is it gone? And he laughed and just said, I don't know, but I'm hunting. And then I didn't piece it together until I talked to people, but he had the 9 generations of rape, and he had this entity inside him for 9 generations. And like the master shaman pulled it out of him using like, higher order energies or whatever. And then like, that was it. The guy doesn't need to have the 10th generation be the rape generation. So I don't know, when you guys talk about certain things, just understand I've seen some fucking crazy shit. I mean, I've seen like beautiful and amazing things too, but I've seen some really fucking exceptionally crazy shit. Do you think people who say act fast and start doing it versus people who say do proper research, make systems in place and then start? I've seen successful people having different opinions. I think both can be valid. So it depends. Like, I don't think it's one set of advice for everybody. If you're not doing shit, like if you're trying to get clients and you're not talking to clients, then I would tell you, go fucking talk to clients, act fast, start doing it. If you're doing the research to figure out what those clients actually want, so you can make something meaningful and valuable to them, like I think that's also valid. So like, I don't think there's one set of advice that universally applies. Like, I hear Gary V and Hermosi, and I make fun of it a lot in our videos, but I actually like listen to both and like both of them. But they talk about just go out there, just get in the at bats, go try it, and mostly because they're talking to beginners who've never made any money. But if you're scaling a business and you're like working 80 hours a week, like hustle ain't your problem. You need teams and systems, and somebody can tell you all day long. A lot of that advice is because that's who they're talking to. But the advice would change if they were talking to somebody else in a different situation. I've seen like videos of Hermosi where he has people in a room and he tells them advice like you need a team and you need a sales development rep, and here's how we hire our reps. Like, depends where you're at, and also depends what you're trying to do. Like, I think advice is only as useful as where you're trying to go. On your, can we build a white label agency to, the 90-day challenge deal you did, was there more deeper resources available beyond the worksheet and the vids? Not really. Just, that whole thing came to pass of just like people kept asking me. I literally have been asked almost 1,000 times over the last 8 years. Like, you're me, you're starting over. You want to get to 10K a month. You want to do as fast as possible. What would you do? So I did that just to document it. I'm like, this is what I would do. What I actually did, that's what I would do. But it wasn't meant to be really anything other than that, just an answer to that question. But if you tell me specifically what you're looking for, like, I can give you more. Frankie, I recommend you watch Inspiring Philosophy. He's a very knowledgeable Christian apologist and philosopher. I'll check him out. Worksheet and bid leagues. Well, cool, guys. I think I'm gonna call it a show here. I'm just gonna give one last little shameless plug for our LA event. Basically, you guys are at the last chance if you want to come. I think we got 3 or 4 tickets. I don't remember exactly how many left, but we got a few spots left, and time's running. It's happening in a week and a half. If you guys want to come, we're going to be working on closing and video. We're going to be working on offers. We're going to be working on demonstrating. We're going to be working on how to show a picture where a client immediately understands in 3 seconds what you're going to do for them, which makes getting to yes like way easier. So also Hermosi has no life. Yeah, very true, right? Yeah, that's, like, it's easy to say for a guy with no kids that loves business to only do business, but not all of us want to spend all of our waking hours doing business. Like, we have other aspects, even just like eating some good food, having some sex, going to the beach, whatever. Like, Tony Robbins exposed that. Yeah. And like, I think that works for him. So I'm not here to tell him what to do, but I wouldn't follow that advice. I'm not like trying to be Hermosi. Anyways, I'm going to bounce here because I'm going to go eat some food. I haven't eaten anything yet. I had a slow morning, so it's time for some lunch. Appreciate you guys, all the magic you guys bring to these conversations. And thank you guys, by the way. The last little bit was extra interesting, for me at least. I don't know if you guys found it the same. But anyways, I appreciate you guys. And happy Monday. May the Triforce be with you. And if you guys get anything else, you can feel free to drop them in the comments. And oh, by the way, before I forget, there is no next 2 Mondays are travel days for me. So we will not reconvene until 3 weeks from now. So I'll have to make an announcement somewhere, but there's no Q&A because I'm flying to LA next Monday and I'm flying back the following Monday. So it'll be 3 weeks from now when we do the next one. Anyways, appreciate you guys. Happy Monday. May the Triforce be with you. Go Rocket.